They said it was mathematically impossible. Breaking this wooden dummy in under 10 strikes? Pure fiction. Why? Because in this VR universe, your real-world stats dictate your in-game power. Millions of hyped-up gamers threw everything they had at it. We are talking Olympic-level athletes, absolute physical specimens, all walking away humiliated. The consensus was unanimous. This tutorial challenge was completely broken, a developer's sick joke that no one could actually beat. Yet, the line to try stretched for miles. The bait was just too juicy. A state-of-the-art gaming capsule worth 50 million won, and a massive 5-point boost to every single base stat. Suddenly, the crowd parts like the Red Sea. Enter the final boss of reality, a walking mountain of muscle who looks more like a raid boss than a human being. Legend says this absolute unit wrestles black bears for cardio. Channeling every ounce of his monstrous strength, he launches a devastating right hook. Impact. But the dummy just wiggles, taking absolutely zero damage. Behind the screens, the developers are sweating bullets, practically praying for him to win. If this human tank fails, the player base is going to riot and nuke their ratings into oblivion. But reality is cruel. The heavyweight champion completely bounces off the wood, roaring at the heavens in pure, unfiltered rage. But then, a total nobody steps up to the plate. He looks so incredibly basic that the crowd actually laughs, especially when they spot the rusted trash-tier sword in his hand. But then, swish. He effortlessly cleaves the dummy perfectly down the middle with a single, casual swing. Challenge obliterated. The devs drop their coffee mugs in pure shock. But zooming in on the footage, they spot the glitch. That rusty blade? It is an illusion. It is actually the epic-tier masterpiece known as Radiant Light, an endgame weapon that has zero business existing in the beginner tutorial zone. So who the heck is this ultimate smurf, and how did he bypass the system? Meet our main character, Hyun-soo. He is not just a gamer, he is literally the greatest blacksmith to ever walk the earth. And yeah, he forged that overpowered blade with his own 2 hands. Rewind 1 month earlier, before he broke the internet. We find him meeting his ride-or-die bro, Kim Ji-han, right in the depressing lobby of a Seoul hospital. The exact same nightmare building, where his father has been trapped in a vegetative state for years. Ji-han is currently scrolling through forums, laughing his lungs out at the tryhards, still busting their knuckles on that wooden dummy. He knows pure muscle is a massive trap. Out of nowhere, Hyun-soo rolls up looking like a storm cloud, super irritated that his daylight hustle got interrupted. Ji-han awkwardly explains his night shift made an evening hangout impossible. With a death glare, our boy demands to know why he was summoned. Trying to break the ice, Ji-han points out Hyun-soo's ridiculous winter gear, asking if he is trying to spontaneously combust. One icy threat from our main character, later, and Ji-han is bowing in immediate apology. Clearing his throat, Ji-han drops the bomb. He asks if Hyun-soo has been living under a rock, or if he knows about Ares. It is the absolute pinnacle of virtual reality, a god-tier game run by a super advanced AI. He hypes up the impossible beginner event, bragging that no one has cracked the code yet. The grand prize? A massive 50 million won VVIP rig. Hyun-soo just rolls his eyes, asking why he should care about a challenge that swallowed 1 billion players whole. Plus, he does not even touch video games. Ji-han sweats, admitting the odds are brutal, but swears on his life it is not rigged. Leaning in close, he drops the ultimate bombshell. When it comes to shattering that specific dummy, Hyun-soo is literally the only human alive who can pull it off. Without waiting for an answer, Ji-han drags him into a high-tech gaming lounge. Boom! He proudly points to a shiny, 10 million won standard capsule, bought exclusively for our protagonist. Hyun-soo's jaw hits the floor at the insane price tag, but his bro plays it cool, calling it a foolproof investment. He explains the insane in-game economy, where digital loot translates directly into cold, hard cash. Waving him toward the machine, Ji-han says it is time to log in. Hyun-soo grabs his collar, demanding to know where a broke guy got that kind of serious cash. Ji-han forcefully brushes the question off, begging him to focus on the endless piles of money waiting to be farmed. Unimpressed and highly suspicious, Hyun-soo calls the entire scheme a delusional gamble, asking where the safety net is. But Ji-han stands his ground, swearing our boy has an unfair advantage. Frustrated, Hyun-soo demands to know what makes him so special. Taking a deep breath, Ji-han finally reveals the massive loophole. Ares officially has a blacksmith class. He stares right into Hyun-soo's eyes, reminding him of his royal bloodline as the sole heir to a legendary, world-class craftsman. He is dead certain that a pathetic wooden dummy stands zero chance against a master's hammer. But instead of getting hyped, the atmosphere turns ice cold. Hyun-soo slowly peels back his layers, exposing the brutal, jagged scar from the tragedy. He whispers that Ji-han has not seen the ugly truth behind his clothes. Our boy painfully admits his body is completely wrecked. As he speaks, haunting memories of raging flames engulf his mind. That inferno stole his entire universe. He barely crawled out of the ashes alive, but his father was locked in an endless coma, and the resulting medical debt became a suffocating mountain. Driven into bone-crushing manual labor, Hyun-soo had spent a decade desperately trying to master his father's art, but that dream is dead and buried. He drops the heartbreaking reality check. Ever since the fire, his right arm is basically dead weight. He can barely lift a brick, let alone wield a blacksmith's hammer. Voice devoid of hope, he tells Jihan to get a refund immediately. He calls his best friend a total idiot for burning money, promising to survive on his own terms. As Hyun-soo turns his back to head to his grueling shift, Jihan screams from the bottom of his lungs, calling Hyun-soo the real idiot. How much longer is he going to bleed himself dry for impossible hospital bills? Tears in his eyes, Jihan demands an answer. Is he really going to accept living as a cripple for the rest of his life? He screams that this game has the power to completely heal his broken body, reminding him that the final surgery costs a mind-numbing 3 billion won. Jihan begs him not to throw away his last lifeline. He vows to carry the burden of the 10 million won debt himself. Breaking down, Jihan pleads with his best friend to just trust him this one time. Later, amidst the dirt of a construction site, the phantom heat of that tragic fire still burns in Hyun-soo's mind. He fights to focus, but Kim Ji-han's words keep echoing in his mind. As he grinds away, the rhythmic clash of steel rings out deep within his soul, igniting a burning nostalgia. Pulled by destiny, our boy steps back into the virtual reality capsule room, knowing that metallic heartbeat guided his steps. Fueled by Ji-han's push, Hyun-soo finally takes the plunge into the virtual world. He makes a silent vow to his dad. He is going to make that hammer sing once more. The second he links up, glowing system prompts welcome him to the realm of Aries. For his player tag, he keeps it classic, Hyun-soo. Mid-character creation, the artificial intelligence scans his real-world body and zeroes in on his facial scar. A prompt pops up, asking if he wants to keep the battle damage. Our guy hits accept without hesitation. The loading screen shatters, dropping him right into the fantasy world. But the moment he spawns, two mind-blowing details hit him. That heavy scar on his face is completely wiped clean, and his crippled right hand is surging with 100% raw power. With his grip restored, a fire ignites in his eyes, ready to grind out that 10 million won mountain of debt. The spawn roulette drops him straight into the beginner zone of the barren wastelands, landing him right at the doorstep of Ren's forge. Peeking inside, he spots a veteran blacksmith, sweating bullets over an anvil. The old-timer is practically roaring, vowing to forge a blade that will absolutely crush his rival, his desperate swings echoing through the shop. But our main character cannot just watch, and bluntly calls out his garbage technique. The non-player character freezes, glaring daggers as he asks if this newbie just insulted his craft. Hyun-soo does not back down, doubling down that his hammering rhythm is a total joke. The forge master's jaw drops to the floor. He genuinely wonders if he is hallucinating this disrespect. Our boy says it with his chest. The whole foundation is trash. Hyun-soo shrugs, admitting he is just a random passerby, but his pride simply will not let him watch a so-called craftsman butcher good iron. Pushed to the absolute edge, the furious old man chucks his heavy hammer right at the kid. He dares our protagonist to step up to the anvil, promising to scrutinize every single swing. This is exactly the opening Hyun-soo wanted, since he needed a place to grind anyway. He lays down his terms. If he cooks up a masterpiece, he keeps the loot. In exchange, he guarantees to bless this veteran's eyes with some god-tier forging. The blacksmith scoffs at his insane ego, but smirks, secretly loving the crazy aura radiating from this rookie. But he drops a dark warning. Choking at the anvil will cost him dearly. Hyun-soo just nods, ice in his veins. It has been 3 long years since he last gripped a hammer. Beneath the cocky facade, a sliver of doubt creeps in about his own rustiness. But the instant metal kisses metal, absolute instinct takes over. A phantom shockwave runs up his arm, and our boy's aura explodes with unbreakable confidence. A euphoric rush floods his system as he reclaims his rightful throne at the forge. The old man watches from the sidelines, ready to laugh at a pathetic display. But within seconds, his mocking grin vanishes, recognizing a flawless, textbook stance. Even so, the stubborn blacksmith bets this cocky amateur will burn out fast. In this ruthless game, stats are everything. The master braces himself for a massive flop until reality completely shatters. He catches Hyun-soo executing a terrifyingly advanced rhythm to obliterate the slag. The veteran's brain short circuits, mind blown that he never considered such a genius angle. Thinking it is some cheap system hack, he triggers his appraisal eye to inspect the raw steel. The glowing holographic text leaves him paralyzed. The absolute trash-tier metal just spiked to a solid C rank. In mere seconds, the realization hits him like a freight train. This kid is an absolute monster. Hours melt away in a symphony of sparks, and the old man accidentally passes out. As morning light hits the shop, Hyun-soo strikes the final blow. A golden system alert flashes. B rank achieved. The master wakes up, utterly speechless. Achieving a B rank through raw physical skill without popping a single game buff is unheard of. But our absolute madman is far from finished. Trembling with hype, the veteran realizes this insane rookie is aiming for the heavens. Seeing the kid's stamina bar flashing red, the fired up blacksmith throws himself into the mix as a support. Together, they synchronize their strikes until the refinement is flawless. They step back, absolutely mesmerized by the glowing drop, a flawless A-tier ingot, practically begging to be shaped into a rare class weapon. The veteran stammers that in decades of grinding, he has never even glimpsed a magic tier craft, let alone breaking into the rare domain. Shaking with pure adrenaline, he begs Hyun-soo to team up and birth an absolute legend. But our boy stays frosty, telling the old man to chill with the celebrations. The real hell begins now. They still have to carve the hilt and give this blade its killer edge. The old-timer lets out a booming laugh, swearing he has never encountered a player with this much drip. Hyun-soo just smirks, dropping the cold truth that he has breathed iron and fire since childhood. Suddenly, the old man proposes scrapping the current blueprint. He wants to up the stakes, reaching into his hidden vault to pull out the ultimate cheat code, a blindingly pure chunk of mithril, an ancient family artifact practically humming with magic. Hyun-soo is stunned, demanding to know why a random level 1 player is getting this supreme treatment. The veteran admits that just watching the kid's rhythm upgraded his own skills, and he is dying to see what a literal forging god can do with peak materials. The thought of manipulating legendary ore makes our main character's blood boil with excitement. The fail penalty would be catastrophic, but the flex is irresistible. The starry-eyed veteran actually asks permission to call him master. Hyun-soo cringes out of his mind, threatening to log out instantly if he ever drops that ridiculous title again. The blacksmith nervously zips his lips. Fast forward one grueling in-game month, and the mythic blade, Daylight, finally shatters its mold. Its stat window explodes with astronomical damage numbers that absolutely break the beginner zone scaling. Meanwhile, at the real-world game headquarters, the developer team is sweating buckets over a system-breaking anomaly triggered by a literal level 1. The head game master just smiles, highly amused by the chaos. But a fellow developer points out a massive catch. Kim Hyun-soo demanded absolute secrecy. The boss figures our guy has his own dark reasons for moving in the shadows. Meanwhile, the team leader tracks his digital footprint in-game. The screens flash as our main character casually strolls into the Advanced Hunting Training Center. Inside, an elite non-playable character named Relson glares at him like he is absolute trash. He barks that bloodthirsty monsters spawn here, and a pathetic level 1 player will just get slaughtered. He literally tells Hyun-soo to scram, telling him to go poke some low-level rabbits in the dirt instead. But our boy knows his hidden stats are completely busted, so he refuses to back down. Groaning in annoyance, Relson caves and points him toward the rusty practice blades. Hyun-soo smirks and shakes his head, bringing his own steel to this fight. You see, our protagonist literally spent an entire month grinding in the absolute lowest beginner zone. Normal players speedrun that tutorial garbage in 30 minutes flat, but his insane, borderline psychotic grind was no joke, as it skyrocketed his base stats to a godly level. And the absolute biggest flex? He is currently wielding the sole epic grade sword in this entire region. But here's the wildest part. Hyun-soo is still sitting at level 1, without a single class equipped. Back in the real world, team leader Kim Taek is sweating bullets over this massive anomaly. He seriously debates letting the god-tier artificial intelligence system, Ares, take the wheel. But a high-ranking executive just flashes a knowing grin. He knows a jaw-dropping legendary class is already primed for our boy. Cutting back to the game, Relson bursts into mocking laughter at the sight of Hyun-soo holding a custom weapon. The arrogant instructor calls it a total joke to gamble your future on a dead-end trash class like blacksmithing. Setting up the trial, Relson preaches that raw sword skills will always crush a piece of scrap metal. His relentless trash talk makes his affinity with our hero absolutely nosedive. But Hyun-soo is dead numb to the disrespect. In the real world, society had always stomped on his ultimate dream, yet inside Ares, he can feel the winds of fate shifting in his favor. Staring the instructor down, our protagonist demands to know about the absolute strongest warrior ever forged in this hall. Then, he looks Relson dead in the eye and demands a trial completely off the charts. The system character's face twists with pure, unadulterated rage at the sheer audacity. Still, Real recognizes Real. Triggered but impressed by the kid's massive spine, Relson unlocks a highly classified trial meant only for true prodigies. He drags Hyun-soo into a brutal arena, dropping the heavy lore that the all-time server record barely cleared Stage 3. Relson instantly spawns a level 6 Swift Goblin, warning that wiping out means a brutal 1-week login ban. Ice cold, our hero completely ignores the threat and asks if Stage 3 is really the cap. He vows to utterly shatter every single trial on the menu. Pushed past his breaking point, Relson snaps and forcefully summons the ultimate Stage 4 boss. Enter the level 15 Mad Goblin. Surviving Stage 3 is an absolute myth, and clearing Stage 4 is mathematically impossible. Total chaos erupts. The beast goes absolutely rabid, launching a flurry of lethal strikes. But our boy weaves through the danger like a seasoned ghost. Hyun-soo knows a master blacksmith can literally feel the soul of their weapon. His eyes glow as he triggers the daylight skill, durable sword, massively buffing his physical armor. The metal sings a deadly tune as Hyun-soo roars his truth. Nothing in this game can top his masterpiece. With one devastating slash, he deletes the swift goblin from existence. But from the blind spot, a brutal ambush connects with bone-crushing force. Relson sees the critical hit marker flash and assumes the kid is dead meat, but the smoke clears to a reality-breaking sight. Hyun-soo straight up ate the catastrophic blow, casually chilling with 82% of his health bar completely intact. He credits his titanium skin to those endless, grueling hours at the anvil, which permanently maxed out his raw strength and vitality. But Relson screams that the true boss phase has just triggered. The Mad Goblin goes completely berserk, unleashing its ultimate attack, Thorns of Madness. The devastating shockwave hits our boy with a nasty dizziness debuff. Relson watches in awe but silently declares a game over. Yet, planting his feet deep into the arena floor, our boy puts complete faith in his forged steel. He mentally flips the switch on his daylight passive skill, Swift Blade, sending his attack speed into absolute overdrive. A blinding hurricane of slashes tears through the air, completely erasing the massive level gap. In the control room, the spectating developers are literally ripping their hair out in shock. Delivering a god-tier finishing blow, Hyun-soo turns the remaining monsters into digital dust. Relson's jaw hits the floor as he screams that the system just broke, bowing down to the kid's insane raw talent. Watching how perfectly the blade's true power was unleashed, the elite instructor is convinced this kid is a secretly trained swordmaster. But Hyun-soo drops a totally different truth bomb. He only lives by one golden rule. A master creator must conquer the very weapons they forge. Relson's eyes drift to the dense muscle and burn scars mapping the boy's arms, the undeniable proof of a psychopathic grind. He realizes he is looking at a true, living artisan. Swallowing his pride, the instructor formally apologizes for his toxic trash talk. Bowing to this supreme potential, Relson offers him the path of the legendary Mad Master. A golden system alert violently shakes the screen. It is the class advancement quest for the mythical, one-of-a-kind, Mad Master. The developer team is practically having a meltdown. This hidden class absolutely eclipses even the famously overpowered Mad Knight. Claiming it instantly crowns Hyun-soo as a server-breaking VIP user. The team leader wipes his sweat, realizing the game's fate is completely sealed. This destiny would crown our protagonist as the ultimate guardian of the realm. Relson practically begs him to click accept, hyping him up as the future king of all knights. But our boy coldly shuts the entire hype train down. He looks at the system prompt and declares that he is a blacksmith of the forge, not a knight of the sword. The absolute silence is deafening, flooring everyone from the virtual arena to the developer room. Suddenly, Relson breaks into a booming laugh of pure respect, amazed by this unbelievable stubbornness. Staring at his calloused hands, our hero smiles. He never thought he would embrace the iron and hammer again, yet destiny has dragged him right back to the anvil. The ultimate blacksmithing journey officially reboots right here. Relson nods, fully respecting that hardcore decision. He slides over a legendary recommendation letter, unlocking a hidden quest, and gifts our boy a cursed-looking chestplate. It is a rusty piece of armor, once equipped by an absolute madman of a forge master. The veteran hypes him up, challenging him to shatter the limits that broke everyone else. Fire burning in his eyes, our main character swears he will conquer it all. Behind the scenes, the devs are absolutely losing their minds. They realize Hyun-soo just crushed his biggest death flag, and his growth ceiling is completely broken. Now, our hero steps onto the brutal path to become the absolute god of the forge. Glowing blue system alerts violently spam his vision, flashing the end of the baby tutorial phase. The main questline just dropped. The true survival game is officially kicking off. But before our guy can even flex his new stats, the screen goes black. Bam! Force logged out. Snapped back to reality. Hyun-soo gets hit with a massive reality check. Towering stacks of utility bills and crippling hospital fees have left his real-world bank account bleeding out on total life support. Survival instinct kicks in. Keeping his family from going under is mission critical. Suddenly, his phone buzzes. It is Kim Ji-han, checking if he finally cleared the noob zone. Our boy casually mentions he just hit the starting village, and Ji-han absolutely loses his mind. He screams at Hyun-soo to sprint straight to the auction house, dropping the ultimate cheat code. In-game gold equals cold, hard, real-world cash. He confesses this massive money glitch is the sole reason he dragged Hyun-soo into the brutal world of Ares. Right before cutting the line, Jihan drops an absolute truth bomb. In his entire life, he has never witnessed any blades holding a candle to the divine masterpieces forged by Hyun-soo and his dad. He practically gambles his life on it. With that ultra-rare VIP capsule running at a god-tier 99.9% synchronization rate, the crafted gear is going to break the server. He practically begs our hero to drown the gaming world in his absolute god-tier creations. A massive wave of pure gratitude washes over Hyun-soo as the screen goes dark. The mission is crystal clear now. Grind the forge, crush those quests, and secure that massive bag. But he knows the ultimate meta. Real-world stamina dictates in-game dominance. He instantly drops into a hardcore workout routine, realizing that while virtual reality leeches your soul, absolutely nothing holds a candle to the bone-crushing agony of swinging a real, heavy-duty hammer. Pounding the pavement on his run, he swears a silent, blood-deep oath to his old man. He will survive this hell. Diving straight back into Ares, our hero aggressively storms the auction hub. He officially registers his empire as High-End Forge. The second he secures that merchant tool, a golden notification pops. Boom. He just unlocked remote auction access from anywhere on the entire map. He pulls out his very first test blade forged in the dusty workshop. Heian First Sword, a shimmering, rare-tier weapon. Trash mobs usually drop similar gear for around 70 gold pieces, but he confidently slaps a 100 gold price tag on it, casually strolling off to scout the village. But out of nowhere, the server auction board practically catches fire. Sweaty tryhards spot this suspiciously busted new listing. A massive bidding war erupts instantly over the blade, violently shattering the 300 gold ceiling in seconds. The absolute market chaos grabs the attention of a scout from the powerhouse Golden Shield Guild. Panicking, he sprints to alert his vice captain, stuttering that the crafter is literally a level 1, absolute nobody with 0 class assigned. But somehow, this rookie just birthed an endgame tier slasher, using absolute garbage tier raw materials. The craziest part? The blade actually holds an insane enhancement slot. The vice captain is left totally speechless. Forging with trash loot normally guarantees a miserable enhancement fail rate. This proves the mystery blacksmith is an absolute genius at minimizing cost while maxing out raw damage. Scanning the stats, he declares, this weapon easily carries a player straight to level 50. Sensing the massive flex of recruiting a hidden genius, he smashes the buyout button without hesitation. Meanwhile, wandering the streets, Hyun-soo is low-key sweating, doubting if his warm-up trash will even get a single click. Ding! A flashy blue alert blinds his vision. High-End First Sword is officially sold out. Our boy just stands there, completely paralyzed by how insanely fast it went. Trembling, he checks the transaction log. His eyes practically bug out. The final bid locked in at a mind-melting 1,008 gold pieces. That absolutely obliterates his measly 100 gold asking price. His brain scrambles to do the real-world math. Holy crap, that is over 1 million Korean won sitting in his digital wallet. A massive tidal wave of pure euphoria and total shock crashes over him. Digging into the logs, Hyun-soo uncovers the mega whales who bought it. The legendary Golden Shield Guild. A private message instantly slides in, dangling a lucrative, exclusive monopoly contract, or a straight-up golden ticket into their ranks. Pulling up their stats, he sees they are a titangent-level blacksmithing syndicate, boasting a godly 780,000 hardcore followers. Hyun-soo knows the brutal truth. Farming clout in this world is 10 times harder than just grinding mobs, and an army of subscribers directly equals infinite cash flow. Glancing at his own High-End Forge dashboard, reality hits hard. He is rocking a miserable 82 followers. But suddenly, his inbox basically explodes with desperate messages from rival power guilds thirsting for his talent. A smirk crosses our main character's face. He finally gets it. Ares is an absolute holy land for true craftsmen. Even if he is dead broke in the real world, he is basically a god in here. This is a realm where pure, unfiltered forging talent translates straight into cold, undeniable power metrics. Rejecting the easy path, he decides selling his soul to a guild right now is a total rookie mistake. Instead, he marches straight toward the towering castle of the Lord, fully hyped to carve out his own legendary legacy. Cut to the grand throne room. Lord Burns is absolutely losing his mind, pacing nervously next to his shady advisor, Bell. The noble desperately questions if reviving his shattered artifact is just a lost cause. Bell heavily sighs, warning that one tiny mistake will permanently delete the relic from existence. He pushes the narrative that they need the absolute most cracked restoration master on the entire server, but he immediately drops a massive hurdle. This so-called master is insanely toxic and ghosts literally everyone. The poor lord looks completely devastated. He is locked to his region and cannot abandon his post. Plus, this unique tier bow is the absolute last trace of his dead father's legacy. But wait for the insane plot twist. Bell is not some loyal servant. He is a filthy, level 100 con artist, perfectly cosplaying as a master forge worker. This snake has wasted an entire week grinding the trust meter of the Lord, entirely to pull off the ultimate heist. He smoothly volunteers to smuggle the bow to the capital for repairs, boldly demanding a staggering 300 gold up front for his services. But right before the deal drops, boom, Hyun-soo literally kicks the heavy oak doors wide open. "I can fix this bow right here and now," our boy declares. Bell immediately starts sweating bullets, his entire scam crumbling before his very eyes. Lord Burns squints, clearly doubting the kid. How exactly do you plan to repair a charred relic inside a castle without a proper forge? A quick nod to the guards triggers an identity check. The soldier steps up, confirming this is indeed the wild card dispatched by Instructor Welson. Intrigued by the sudden connection, the ruler demands to see his player specs. Standing tall before the absolute authority of Banan, our main character drops his stats. Name, Hyun-soo. Level, a whopping 1. Class, jobless. Hearing this, Bell absolutely loses his grip on reality. How dare a bottom-tier noob flex that kind of confidence in front of nobility? The desperate fraudster starts screaming his lungs out. He rants that weapon restoration is strictly endgame content, locked behind a level 80 blacksmith requirement. He points a shaking finger, accusing our guy of trolling the Lord. "Throw this trash out," Bell yells, but our boy just smirks and instantly shuts him down. He breaks down the weapon's true nature. This isn't some basic recurve bow. It is a genuine horn bow, a masterfully crafted composite weapon. Both the Lord and the fake master just blink, completely lost. Hyun-soo reveals he already squeezed the hidden lore out of Guard Baker. He knows the heavy emotional weight here, the desperate urge to revive a late father's legacy, a priceless relic gifted by an unknown wanderer. Lord Burns nods solemnly, admitting the weapon's rarity, but his eyes harden. He is dead tired of grifters selling him empty hope. "Show me proof, or face the consequences," the ruler warns. Unfazed, our hero asks to verify a single detail before dropping an absolute lore bombshell. Sure, an outsider handed it over, but this masterpiece, it was forged right here, using local blood, sweat, and materials. Hyun-soo lays out his brilliant deduction like a seasoned detective. He caught sight of a massive water buffalo painting in the grand hallway. Those beastly horns? Top-tier crafting loot. But the true secret lies hidden in the weapon's extreme curvature. He exposes the core mechanic. It wasn't bound with basic cow sinew, but rare whale sinew. He locks eyes with the Lord, demanding confirmation. Lord Burns is left utterly speechless. The kid's analysis is absolutely flawless. The ruler finally confesses that the foreigner was a master smith, a blood brother to his late father. He confirms the legendary recipe: colossal buffalo horns and mystical whale sinew harvested straight from Barden Swamp. By fusing those ultra-rare local drops, that wandering artisan forged the most lethal bow Barden had ever witnessed. The Lord's respect for Hyun-soo's eagle-eyed appraisal skyrockets, especially since Bell, the so-called level 115 veteran, failed to notice a single thing. Fully convinced, Lord Burns officially triggers the hidden quest. Hyun-soo smirks and hits accept. The bounty? A massive 500 gold pieces. The Lord coldly orders Bell to get out of his sight. The disgraced scammer storms off, his eyes burning with venom as he swears brutal revenge on the kid who ruined his grift. "What do you require?" the Lord asks. Our boy instantly fires off his crafting grocery list: raw buffalo horns, fresh whale sinew, elite-grade timber, and masterwork tools. He radiates the aura of a true crafting god, displaying flawless knowledge of the weapon's anatomy. The system chimes, unlocking the secret blueprint for the sniper's horn bow. But suddenly, a glowing red penalty warning flashes across his vision. If the crafting success rate dips below 70%, the restoration critically fails. The legendary weapon will shatter into pixel dust, lost forever. Staring at the prompt, Hyun-soo's mind drifts back to childhood days, watching his own father shape bows. His dad's voice echoes in his memory, asking if the bloody calluses were worth the effort. Little Hyun-soo had beamed, saying the real magic was just building things by his side. The old man had sworn to pass down the ultimate blacksmithing arts once he grew up. But until then, he had to conquer the basics, feeling the soul of the raw materials. "I got this, Dad," our hero whispers into the quiet room. As the familiar, rough texture of the wood grounds him, an unshakable wave of confidence washes over his soul. Captivated by the kid's blazing determination, Lord Burns rolls up his sleeves to assist. The unlikely duo dives into a hardcore crafting montage. Our main character enters a flow state, carving the elite timber, while the noble awkwardly, but eagerly, supports him. Sweating bullets, Burns chuckles that this grunt work is brutal, his stamina bar practically flashing red. But witnessing the pure, unadulterated passion on Hyun-soo's face keeps him pushing forward. One grueling week later, the exhausted ruler asks if he should finally step back and handle his territory. But our boy stops him, requesting his help for the ultimate finishing touch. Hyun-soo reads between the lines. The Lord hasn't been hanging around for fun. He desperately needs to heal his father's memory with his own two hands. Lord Burns gives a heavy nod, confessing this shattered bow is the final thread connecting him to his dad. He looks at the kid, asking what drives his insane love for the forge. A soft smile breaks across our hero's face as he shares that his most precious childhood memories were forged in a workshop too. Two sons, bonding over the blood, sweat, and tears, required to rebuild the past. The daily grind intensifies. 20 solid days of relentless crafting blur past. Finally, the moment of truth arrives. The system erupts in golden light. The sniper's horn bow is reborn. It ascends to epic tier status, boasting absolutely cracked stats that humiliate the original design. Clenching the weapon, Lord Burns stares up at his father's monument, whispering a silent prayer to the heavens. Hyun-soo nudges him, challenging the noble to test drive the masterpiece. Burns draws the string back and fires. The arrow shatters the sound barrier. He gasps, realizing it doesn't just feel nostalgic, it feels infinitely deadlier. Roaring with triumphant laughter, he crowns it an absolute masterpiece. Instantly, a massive quest-cleared notification dominates the screen. The system goes crazy. Affinity with Lord Burns has hit maximum capacity. The insane crafting success rate smashed right past the 10% threshold. The ruler bows his head in deep gratitude, finally finding closure for his grieving heart. But giving a mere 500 gold, he realizes that is absolute pocket change for a miracle worker. Thanks to the critical success, the quest loot gets a legendary upgrade. Not only does he drop a staggering 2,000 gold pieces, but the Lord grants him unlimited VIP access to the castle's royal forge. Our boy's eyes light up like a lottery winner as he starts calculating his massive profits. 2,000 gold equals roughly 20 million won. That is a massive lifeline, enough to cover his dad's hospital bills for a long time. Staring with pure awe, the local lord hits our protagonist with a totally unexpected curveball. Has he ever thought about walking the path of the sword? Lord Burns suddenly drops a massive lore bomb. Long before ruling these lands, he was a master bladesman. He introduces Hyun-soo to the first swordsmanship, an ancient legendary art known for slaughtering endless waves of monsters. The noble admits that while Hyun-soo possesses the golden hands of a master crafter, he also senses the raw, untapped aura of a true warrior radiating from him. Backed by Instructor Welson's high praise and his own sharp instincts, Burns offers to pass down his ultimate legacy. He triggers a rare skill quest for the technique, promising Hyun-soo that with his relentless grind, clearing this trial will be an absolute breeze. This sudden mentorship is a total jackpot. Shifting into absolute overdrive, Hyun-soo grinds like a machine, forging his custom hornbow, breathing life back into the rusted Madmaster armor, and surviving hellish physical conditioning. He clashes blades with Lord Burns every single day until the technique is hardwired into his muscles. When the hour of departure finally arrives, our boy announces he is battle-ready, flexing his fully restored dark armor and gripping his custom-crafted bow. He firmly declares his next objective, securing an official class advancement. Bidding a respectful farewell to Burns, he starts sorting through his digital inventory. He meticulously double-checks his current loadout. The Madmaster armor completely covers his low-level weakness by packing a nasty damage reflection passive, while his newly forged bow rocks an absolutely broken 60% accuracy buff. To bankroll his upcoming journey, he hammers out a batch of rare-tier bows and dumps them straight into the auction house. He monitors the active listing for high-end second bow. Meanwhile, miles away, the Golden Shield Guildmaster, Flame, stares at the auction interface in absolute shock. He points out that even the top-ranked player in Korea, Black, could never forge a weapon this cracked at level 10. Flame is completely mind-blown by how some random rookie engineered a masterpiece at level 1 using absolute garbage tier loot. He suddenly remembers a famous quote from the global #1 blacksmith, Smith. The grand artificial intelligence, Ares, dictates the rules of this world. If you manage to blow the system away, it rewards you with an exclusive title. Flame calculates that the mysterious creator behind Hyun's workshop must be hiding a legendary class title to pump out god-tier artifacts like this. Cutting back to Hyun-soo, our protagonist almost drops his jaw at the final winning bid, 2,050 gold pieces. His brain short-circuits as he realizes that is roughly 25 million won, absolute life-changing wealth for just one single weapon. He then spots his channel follower count, which has literally exploded past the 3,200 mark. His direct messages are completely swamped with elite guild scouting offers, overflowing with confidence. Our hero locks his sights on the ultimate holy land for all crafters, the Tower of Blacksmiths. Reaching the colossal structure, he discovers the main gate locked down by a heavy magic barrier, tightly bound in mystical chains. A system prompt flashes, identifying this dungeon as the Tower of the Swordmaker. To gain access, he has to completely shatter the seal, using a custom blade forged right inside the magic workshop. Running his hands over the glowing seal, Hyun-soo instantly recognizes the material as volcanic basalt rock. He locates the entrance to the magic workshop and strides right in. Once inside the glowing forge, our boy gets a quick rundown of the rules. Crafting materials and tools are completely unlimited, and all production timers are massively fast-forwarded. The catch? Any weapon forged in this room is strictly locked to this specific trial. This entire challenge boils down to forging a blade sharp enough to slice straight through solid rock. Meanwhile, chilling at the top of the tower, Master Dang aggressively mutters that all these challengers are nothing but greedy fools chasing a quick bag of gold. He bitterly claims that the true, honorable path of the blacksmith has been dead for years. He leaves the gates open for anyone to try, fully knowing they will never even dent the real seal. The absolute best they can hope for is a tiny surface scratch. Down in the forge, Hyun-soo locks in his choice, a complex Damascus steel sword. The system immediately flashes a warning, stating this tier of weapon is strictly meant for master-class blacksmiths and strongly suggests crafting a basic iron dagger instead. But our hero completely ignores the pop-up. Backed by an endless supply of premium materials, he busts out a secret real-world forging technique his dad taught him, engineered specifically for carving through solid stone. Hyped up by the absolute god-tier workshop facilities, our boy praises this virtual reality as absolute peak gaming and throws his entire soul into the anvil with zero hesitation. Suddenly, Master Dang is jolted awake by a massive, violent earthquake, rattling the very foundations of the tower. Rushing to check the cameras, his jaw drops as he witnesses the legendary, unbreakable stone seal, sliced perfectly down the middle. The Grand Master is left utterly speechless as Hyun-soo casually strolls through the destroyed gateway. Dang dramatically whispers that the literal god of the forge has finally descended. Our unbothered protagonist simply walks up and asks if that counts as a passing grade. Still trembling, Dang explains that normally, a player's skill is graded based on how deep they scratch the rock, but Hyun-soo literally obliterated the entire thing. Just as our boy starts sweating, wondering if he has to retake the exam, a blinding golden magic circle erupts beneath his feet. Dang quickly clarifies this is not an attack spell, but a grand summoning array. The Tower Master then proudly offers up his own personal forging hammer, directly to our boy. A massive system alert dominates Hyun-soo's vision. Item acquired, Dang's hammer. A new double S rank quest has just been triggered. Dang looks him dead in the eye and says the real nightmare begins now, wishing him ultimate victory. In a blinding flash of white light, Hyun-soo is instantly teleported away. His vision clears to reveal he is standing on top of towering castle battlements, staring down a brutal, endless army of raging orcs marching straight for the gates. The double S rank quest window updates. Objective: annihilate the invading orc army. Our protagonist is completely baffled, trying to figure out how surviving a literal war zone connects to a crafting exam. Suddenly, the battered soldiers holding the wall spot Hyun-soo and completely lose their minds. They erupt into deafening cheers, hyping up the arrival of their supposed savior. The true nightmare of this quest finally clicks into place. Our lone hero has to somehow rack up a massive 70% battle contribution rate while competing against a full platoon of 50 hardened soldiers. Leading the vanguard is Squad Captain Hans, a terrifying level 48 warrior. Hans greets him with open arms, desperation clear in his eyes. The orc horde is pushing harder than ever, and the squad's equipment is literally falling apart. He practically begs our boy for a quick repair job, but the main character has to drop a massive reality check. He quickly clears up the misunderstanding. Since he hasn't officially awakened his blacksmith class yet, his repair stats are sitting at absolute zero. Blinking in sheer confusion, Hans gestures wildly at the massive hammer, but our hero casually brushes it off as a simple test prop. When the captain presses him about his battlefield experience, Hyun-soo drops the bomb. He is a complete combat rookie. The atmosphere instantly hits rock bottom. The veterans exchange dark looks, realizing they just scored a clueless liability to babysit instead of the heavy support they desperately needed. Barking orders, Hans tells the kid to tuck tail and hide up in the watchtower. But out of absolutely nowhere, a colossal battle axe comes spinning straight for the captain's head. In a blur of motion, our hero dashes forward, effortlessly deflecting the lethal blow like it is child's play. He demands a spot on the front line, knowing deep down that this bloodbath is his actual awakening exam. Utterly bewildered, but out of options, Hans nods and barks at him to get in formation. The suffocating gravity of a real war zone slams into our boy's chest, but an unshakable confidence burns in his eyes. He launches himself right into the meat grinder, literally erasing a level 10 orc from existence and triggering an instant level up. That brutal, sweat-soaked month of pure grinding is finally paying dividends. Nearby, a veteran soldier named Ben freezes in absolute shock, completely mind-blown by the savage power radiating from a classless player. But getting distracted in a deathmatch is a fatal mistake, and Ben suddenly finds himself cornered by the horde. Catching the crisis from the corner of his eye, our protagonist fluidly swaps to his hornbow and lets it rip. A streak of radiant light violently pierces the monster's chest, snatching Ben right out of the Grim Reaper's grip. A second beast lunges at him from the blind spot, but our boy's reflexes are god tier. He snaps a perfectly placed follow-up shot, watching his system flash with yet another glorious level up. The entire squad is paralyzed with awe. A single arrow from Hyunsu effortlessly folds even the most gargantuan beasts. He snaps Ben out of his trance with a sharp yell, warning the veteran that the horde has officially marked him for death. Rattled to his core, Ben realizes he is completely boxed in. Without missing a beat, our protagonist whips out his glowing daylight sword and triggers his rampage skill. What follows is pure, unfiltered carnage, as greenskins are mowed down in droves. Hyunsu's battle contribution abruptly spikes to 19%. Watching the massacre, Hans finally understands why the guildmaster trusted this mysterious kid with their lives. With this absolute unit fighting by their side, the captain knows they can pull off a miracle. Blood pumping with pure hype, he roars at his men to eradicate the invaders. Our hero finally feels the true brotherhood of the vanguard, while the system chimes in, confirming his epic rampage has severely buffed the squad's morale. As the chaotic slaughter drags on, his overall contribution score ticks up to 28%. He frowns, wondering why the gauge is crawling so slowly, when he is actively shredding through enemies like wet paper. But then, the dreaded red glow of a hidden quest triggers. A nightmare enters the chat, a terrifying level 51 orc warrior. Hans screams at the top of his lungs, ordering everyone to fall back. He immediately recognizes their mortal nemesis, and raw panic infects the entire front line. The captain realizes with a sinking heart that they pushed way too deep to retreat safely. But his brothers in arms are absolute legends. Gripping their weapons, they swear to hold the line, with Ben fiercely vowing to die before taking a single step backward. Hans roars the attack command, but our boy watches in horror as the squad blindly rushes into a massive death trap. Desperate to lay down suppressing fire, he draws his bow, only to get a brutal reality check. His glowing arrows literally ping off the monster's armor like harmless rubber. Hyunsu's eyes widen as he realizes this boss has skin forged from pure steel. Standard archery is entirely useless here, and a suffocating wave of despair washes over the vanguard. A frantic soldier begs to run for their lives, but Hans coldly declares that stepping back means instant slaughter. With an earth-shattering roar, the colossal orc warrior initiates a bull rush. In one sickeningly fluid motion, the behemoth's blade severs the captain's arm clean off. Crashing to his knees, the squad leader tragically realizes that winning this fight is mathematically impossible. Our protagonist watches, blood running cold, as Hans collapses into the dirt, crimson pouring onto the battlefield. Absolute hysteria rips through the ranks while the greenskins roar in bloodthirsty triumph. A vanguard fighter screams in sheer terror, sobbing that their broken blades cannot even dent the enemy's monstrous plating. The horrifying truth sets in. All their attacks are completely useless. Another veteran drops his weapon, utterly convinced they are all dead meat. But our hero steps up, screaming at the men that this mindless brawl is suicide. Taking absolute charge, he commands the survivors to form a tight defensive wall and fall back into the dense tree line, promising on his life that he will regroup with them momentarily. Trusting the kid's insane aura, the unit obeys, evacuating their bleeding captain. Stepping up as acting commander, Ben anchors the rear guard, organizing a desperate choke point against the horde. He shoots our boy a grim look, warning him that this suicidal stand will only buy a handful of seconds. With ice in his veins, our protagonist replies that 5 minutes is all he needs to flip the script. Ben flashes a bloody grin, swearing to hold the front line no matter what. Without another word, Hyunsu melts into the deep shadows of the forest like a ghost. Knowing standard projectiles are absolute trash against that walking tank, our hero decides to break out his ultimate cheat code, Dang's replicating hammer. It is a god-tier artifact capable of cloning consumable items and instantly deleting crafting timers. For the first time since the boss dropped, the scent of victory fills the air. Back at the choke point, the bleeding remnants of the vanguard fight like cornered beasts to hold back the relentless greenskin tidal wave. Refusing to yield a single inch, Ben stands his ground, fiercely determined to pay for those promised 5 minutes in blood. Just as the massive boss swings its blade to take Ben's head off, a devastating streak of blinding light literally rips the atmosphere apart. The projectile obliterates the monster on impact, dropping it instantly and pulling Ben right back from death's door. The veteran stands there, completely paralyzed by shock. Within seconds, a storm of lethal artillery rains down from the canopy, each shot vaporizing its target with terrifying, aimbot precision. The epic reveal drops. Our boy is speedcrafting and sniping these overpowered rounds from pure stealth. Furious at being camped, the colossal orc warrior roars into the darkness, completely losing its mind over this new tactic. While the monster thrashes in blind rage, our protagonist calmly knocks his next lethal payload. Carrying the survival of the entire squad on his shoulders, Hyunsoo has forged legendary Pyongjeon projectiles, insanely fast, ultra-rare short arrows packing enough armor-piercing kinetic energy to shatter solid bedrock. To launch these mini-missiles, he locks them into a specialized bamboo rail, called a tong-ah. Flexing the power of Dang's hammer, our hero instantly triggers the replication skill, ready to unleash a literal meteor shower. The lethal edge of these custom arrows is no joke. Paired with his trusty hornbow, the set bonus triggers, sending his attack power and armor-piercing stats right through the roof. The monster horde charges in, but the frontline troops hold the line to buy him that perfect window. Catching the rhythm, our boy lets his trump card fly, locking dead onto the heavy iron helmet of the orc boss. The shaft tears through the air with the devastating payload of a heavy sniper rifle, shattering the thick steel like glass, and dropping the target in a single, brutal heartbeat. The system chimes as his level shoots up to 3, and he secures the rare title, Orc Slayer. This insane buff spikes his damage against the Green Menace and radiates pure terror across the battlefield. The surviving monsters completely lose their minds. Absolute panic shatters their formation, scattering them like cowards. The vanguard roars in absolute hype, mercilessly chasing down the fleeing trash. Hyunsoo and his crew do not hold back. Our main character launches himself after a running brute, unleashing arrows with god-tier accuracy, leaving them absolutely zero room to breathe. He sinks a flawless critical hit right between the eyes. In no time, the final stragglers of the monster wave are completely erased. With the dust settling, this impossible defense quest wraps up with a flawless victory screen. And the craziest part? Our hero completely carried, locking in a mind-blowing 92% contribution rate. The system flashes a golden clear message, praising his godlike performance. Every single surviving soldier starts chanting the name of Hyunsoo as their absolute savior. He bags the unwavering loyalty of the entire platoon, scoring the hidden title, Battlefield Commander. Walking over to a battered Hans, who is currently getting bandaged up, our guy pauses to hear the veteran out. Hans confesses they were always terrified, just surviving behind their shields, completely giving up on the pipe dream of actually wiping out the horde. He bows his head in pure gratitude, with the rest of the squad following his lead. Our hero gives them a respectful nod, exhaling as he realizes this brutal extra trial is officially in the bag. Hyunsoo starts planning his trip back to the blacksmith guild, though the logistics are a bit fuzzy. Meanwhile, inside the Grand Central Spire, Master Dang is throwing a massive fit. He is fuming about how their sacred guild has fallen completely off the meta. The frontline combat classes are hogging all the spotlight, while the rookies showing up at their doors are just lazy gold farmers looking for a quick payday. Dang rants. They desperately need a true prodigy to awaken the ancient prophecy and bring back their glory days. Coulson cuts him off, oozing toxic sarcasm. He openly mocks Dang, questioning his authority as a guild leader. Rolling his eyes, Coulson trashes the whole Chosen One legend as pure copium. He complains bitterly about being dragged away from his elite crafting grind just to babysit some random nobody. Dang immediately claps back, demanding to know if Coulson even bothered checking the combat logs. Hyunsoo flat out earned his spot, soloing the trial and completely vaporizing the monster vanguard, all without a single class awakening. The surrounding grandmasters freeze at the word vaporize. A classless newbie pulling off a raid-level wipe is simply unheard of. Dang stands his ground, stating the prophecy requires an heir with unmatched potential. The ancient blade will make the ultimate judgment. Right on cue, the massive iron doors blast open, and our main character strides into the legendary sanctuary. Dang greets him warmly, declaring his trial a massive success, which officially unlocks his elite access to the holiest ground of all crafters. He drops the absolute bombshell. Hyunsoo now has the right to pull the Sword of Prophecy. Fate will be sealed the second his hands touch the hilt. Our boy smirks at the thought of a fitting reward. Flashing back to the brutal double S rank quest he just cleared, he realizes a legendary job change is totally on the menu. Coulson steps up with a fake smile to offer his congratulations, praising his survival skills, but the vibe instantly turns completely toxic. He trash talks the custom ammo, calling it a garbage tier bootleg, and writes off the entire raid victory as sheer, dumb luck. Coulson sneers, claiming that without carried gear, our boy would be total dead weight. He aggressively dares him to grab the mythical weapon, just dying to watch his beginner's luck finally crash and burn. Hyun-soo quietly scans the room. The system aura confirms these grandmasters are elite-tier heavyweights, the very pillars holding up the lore of Ares. Spotting that Coulson, the bowsmith master, is sitting at a massive level, 365. Our hero knows he is surrounded by absolute monsters. But fear? He feels absolutely nothing. He knows deep down that in a raw battle of hammering steel, stripping away all the flashy system titles, his pure talent would absolutely bury them. Our main character confidently steps up to the ancient relic. It pulses with a terrifying aura, blasting out a shockwave of raw mana that leaves the grandmasters gasping for air. Out of nowhere, the blade detonates in a blinding holy flash, completely swallowing the massive throne room. Hyun-soo braces himself, totally clueless about what kind of system glitch is hitting him as the light consumes his vision. As the blinding flare burns out, he is just standing there chilling, but the mythical relic is completely gone. Dang drops his jaw in pure shock. He bursts into manic laughter. The true heir never even had to grab the hilt. The sacred weapon literally bound itself to his soul from across the room. Coulson loses his absolute mind, screaming that the system must be bugged. But before he can cope harder, the server drops a global nuke. A world message flashes, declaring the very first god-tier class has just awakened in the realm of Ares. Coulson is practically frothing at the mouth. His ego shatters, completely unable to process how a random novice just snatched the ultimate crown. The golden text locks in. Hyun-soo has evolved into the one and only god of blacksmithing. Both our boy and Master Dang are completely paralyzed by the notification. This is not some standard legendary job. It is a mythical Genesis tier class, unlocking absolutely game-breaking perks. From this moment on, level restrictions on crafting and equipping gear are completely deleted, and his experience bar will passively skyrocket with every single masterpiece he forges. The ancient prophecy was real, and the ultimate forging god has descended. Destiny is calling, and his power ceiling just shattered. A brand new class quest, Test of the Sword, flashes before his eyes, locked behind the legendary level 100 milestone. The surrounding tower masters exchange hushed whispers, bowing to the absolute will of the blade. But Coulson? He is absolutely losing his mind. His voice echoes through the hall, desperately clinging to a forgotten loophole in their ancient laws. Rule number 1. The new heir needs unanimous approval from every single master. Refusing to back down, Coulson throws down the gauntlet, locking Hyun-soo into a high-stakes blacksmithing deathmatch. The conditions are absolute. If our boy clutches the win, he gets the respect he deserves. But if he chokes, the throne of the successor is gone forever. Master Dang tries to shut this down, only to be met with a venomous glare from the rebel artisan. Unbothered, our main character hits him with a savage smirk, offering him a free ticket to run away while he still can. But Hyun-soo raises the stakes. When Coulson inevitably takes the L, he will be chained to the deputy tower master desk, forced to actually put in the work. The salty master barks out a cruel laugh, completely blind to the unshakable confidence radiating from our boy. Right on cue, the system chimes in, awakening a dormant power. It is the ultimate artisan language, speaking pure violence through forged steel. Hyun-soo just secured the ultimate cheat code, custom god crafting. Coulson sneers, making it crystal clear that a craftsman clash is not your average meathead sword fight. Brute force means nothing here. This is a pure collision of masterpieces. The rules are brutally straightforward. Each blacksmith hammers out a single blade. Then, they slam them together with everything they have. First weapon to shatter loses everything. Dripping with arrogance, Coulson announces his forge is primed. He gives our hero exactly 24 hours, taunting him to bring his absolute best before their ultimate showdown tomorrow. The moment Coulson stomps out, panic washes over Dang. He urgently warns our protagonist that he just walked straight into a massive trap. The veteran master drops a heavy truth. Coulson is a living legend, holding one of the highest crafting ranks on the entire continent. Hyun-soo does not disagree, knowing a regular smith would be instantly annihilated. Normally, a player is heavily chained down by their level and basic titles, but our guy just transcended mortal limits, evolving straight into the god class. Those pathetic system restrictions? Completely obliterated. Now, raw talent is the only metric that matters, and his divine status just handed him the keys to the kingdom. He triggers his newest active ability, a god-tier skill that breaks every rule in the book. This overpowered perk lets him forge completely customized gear from scratch. He can literally inject any ridiculous buff he wants into the metal, but there is a massive catch. The more broken the stats, the more agonizingly difficult the forging process becomes. Cut to the enemy forge, where Coulson is drowning in bitter memories. He flashes back to the days he thought the family legacy was his divine right. But fate slapped him in the face when a true genius arrived, shoving him down the ladder and forcing him into the Bow Tower master role. He swallowed his pride out of pure loyalty to Dong. Yet, watching that same leader hand the crown to a total nobody, that is a betrayal he refuses to stomach. Blazing wrath channels through his hammering, igniting the room in a literal storm of fire. Back in the hero's corner, Dang nervously observes the quiet focus of our boy. The Elder Master sweats, knowing perfectly well that slapping enchantments onto a weapon demands strict equivalent exchange. In a clash like this, stacking maximum durability is the only way to survive. So Dang is completely baffled when he peeks at the glowing stat window of the new blade. The numbers are painfully low, barely scraping into the rare tier. Oblivious to the panic, our protagonist strikes the final blow, bathing the workshop in a blinding, ethereal glow. Dang can only hold his breath, wondering what insane strategy the god of blacksmithing is secretly cooking up. Fast forward to dawn, the arena is packed with heavy hitters, waiting for the bloodbath. Coulson glares at Hyun-soo, demanding he prove his right to exist in this tower. With a dramatic flourish, the veteran unsheathes his masterpiece, a terrifying unique tier blade named Dark Knight. The system window pops up, and the stats are absolutely monstrous. We are talking 12,000 durability and a bone-crushing 664 attack damage, plus a passive buff that spikes its toughness, an extra 35% defense boost. The crowd of elite masters gasps in pure awe at the flawless craftsmanship. Riding the high of their praise, Coulson arrogantly claims his weapon is untouchable. He points his weapon at our boy, daring him to show his pathetic attempt. Hyun-soo casually draws his blade, immediately sending shockwaves of secondhand embarrassment through the room. The system identifies it as a measly, rare-grade item. Its durability is a laughable 1,000, accompanied by a tragic 177 attack power. A rival master openly scoffs, calling the weapon absolute garbage, while loudly trashing Dang for putting his faith in a random low-level player. Screaming that this absolute joke of a duel is over, Coulson lunges forward with killing intent. Our main character does not even flinch. A deafening crash of metal echoes through the courtyard. But then, the sickening sound of shattered steel silences the crowd. Master Dang and the haters are left utterly paralyzed, eyes wide with horror. The invincible Dark Knight blade? It is scattered across the floor in a million jagged pieces. Coulson drops to his knees, his brain completely short-circuiting. With ice in his veins, Hyun-soo drops a harsh truth. A weapon's true worth cannot be judged by a shiny color grade. The hidden system window of his rare blade finally goes public, flashing its absolutely broken active skill, the Sword Devourer. This insane custom perk packed a massive 65% chance to instantly sever any enemy weapon on contact. It was never meant to survive a long fight. It was a disposable, unrepairable glass cannon, forged exclusively to humiliate a single opponent. Staring at the wreckage, Dang remembers a chilling prophecy from his father, a warning about a legendary successor who would completely shatter their outdated traditions. His mind drifts back to a young, passionate Coulson, who once dreamed of reaching this exact level of mastery. A quick flashback pulls us into the Midnight Forge, where our boy casually told Dang that winning a normal durability test would never earn these boomers respect. The only way to assert dominance was to forge an anomaly, a blade designed strictly to murder other blades. Dang thought he was losing his mind, but Hyun-soo proved that bending the laws of reality just requires god-tier talent and an ocean of sweat. Snapping back to the present, Dang finally grasps the absolute genius of this gamble. Our main character does not just dream up crazy ideas, he forces the system to make them real. Kneeling in the dust, Coulson trembles, finally whispering the mythical title out loud, God of Blacksmithing. Staring at his broken pride, he wonders if he will ever touch that realm of divinity. Standing victorious, Hyun-soo just looks down at his new deputy, flashing a dangerously calm smile. Shattering the concept of impossible, Coulson finally bows his head in absolute defeat. Our boy stares down the humbled grandmaster, casually dropping the fact that he is now looking at the literal god of blacksmithing. Right on cue, a glowing system prompt flashes, sealing his flawless victory. The stunned tower masters do not hold back, blessing Hyun-soo with a massive loot drop, a heavy chest overflowing with 500 gleaming gold coins. But the real jackpot is not the cash. They hand over an ancient, glowing scroll. It is the crafting blueprint for a mythic bow, an artifact ranked among the tower's 10 ultimate treasures. Coulson swallows his pride, admitting this godly schematic is way above his pay grade. He knows, passing this legacy to a rising legend is his only option. Dan steps up, his voice trembling with pure hype. He declares that the birth of a forge god will spark an entirely new era of absolute dominance. He pushes our hero to ascend to the very summit of this world. The divine evolution begins today. Bam, we snap back to harsh reality. Hyun-soo is clinking glasses with his day one, Kim Ji-han. His loaded bestie is absolutely losing his mind over the fact that our broke main character is actually treating him to beers. He hypes up our boy for unlocking a literal god-tier class, screaming that the whole situation is completely busted. Jihan confesses he only pushed him into virtual reality to keep his insane crafting skills from going to waste, but he never expected his bro to become a walking cheat code. With a proud grin, he points out that, after surviving absolute hell, our protagonist is finally holding the winning hand. Then, Jihan drops the million-dollar question. What is the actual flex of being a divine class? Our boy just chuckles, admitting he honestly feels exactly the same right now. His brain is not on godhood. It is completely locked onto a ticking time bomb, his massive hospital debt due tomorrow morning. And just to twist the knife, an extra 10 million won just got slapped onto his father's medical tab. Jihan delivers a brutal reality check about the new experimental meds. Plot twist. Insurance will not cover a single dime. The raw price tag? A soul-crushing 20 million won. Plus, he firmly reminds Hyun-soo that healing his own severe burn scars is not going to be cheap either. Jihan keeps it 100% real. Wearing a fancy god title will not magically swipe the credit card. There is a hard cap on how much gear our hero can physically forge in a day. If he wants to swim in cash, Hyun-soo needs to grind levels and skyrocket his global clout. The bestie outlines the ultimate meta strategy. Network with the top 1% whales of Ares. That is the only way to bag astronomical payouts and mythic teardrops. Our hero locks that advice deep into his brain. Jihan then smirks, claiming he has a foolproof backup plan, and promising his high-level in-game older brother will carry them. Our boy just rolls his eyes, roasting his friend and telling him to keep his day job. But then, Jihan pulls up the trending forums. The entire gaming community is absolutely melting down over a dude named Lord. The guy permanently hard-stuck at rank 21 just evolved into a legendary class. But here's the real earth-shattering drop. Lord actually managed to clap Sword King Barad, a boss-tier non-player character, widely considered invincible. The player base is completely losing their collective minds. Meanwhile, our protagonist is drowning in the suffocating anxiety of generating 30 million won every single month. Doing the brutal math, he realizes that, even stacking all his quest payouts and auction house flips, he is falling dangerously short. But quitting his dad's treatment is simply not an option. Right on cue, a divine ping echoes through his phone. One of his masterwork blades just instantly sold at buyout for a jaw-dropping 53,310 gold coins. The buyer's identification? Lord. Without missing a beat, our boy sprints straight to the hospital billing department and completely zeroes out his entire massive debt. Breathing his first real breath in months, Hyun-soo vows to grind Ares until his fingers bleed. Logging back into the server, a private message icon flashes from Lord. The elite ranker drops a massive bombshell. It was purely thanks to Hyun-soo's custom blade that he managed to clear the Sword King's brutal trial. Lord confesses that for a weapon of this caliber, that insane price tag was basically a discount. Then, the message exposes the actual glitch in the Matrix. Our hero's forged steel literally sliced through the Sword King's personal weapon, creating a microscopic opening that completely short-circuited the enemy artificial intelligence. Lord then hands him the ultimate hookup. The legendary King Barad is demanding an audience. He wants our main character to forge him a personal blade. Hyun-soo's eyes practically bulge out of his skull. The realization hits him like a freight train. This is the ultimate, very important person passed to infinite wealth. With his blood pumping and resolve locked in, our boy decides that tracking down Barad is absolute priority number one. Meanwhile, we cut to a mysterious, sharp-dressed dude strolling into a rundown, real-world forge. In the shadows, he whispers that the clock is ticking, with only 1 month left on their secret pact. Cut back to our hyper-focused Hyun-soo. He is dialing up Kim Ji-han, who absolutely loses his mind at the insane idea of casually strolling up to a boss like Barad. Ji-han practically laughs him out of the call. He ruthlessly breaks down the game mechanics. A shiny god title does not give you an all-access backstage badge. Normally, just getting within breathing distance of a high-tier non-player character, like the Sword King, forces a player to hit a minimum of level 200 with maxed-out server reputation. But luckily, his bestie has done the homework and found a massive loophole. He pitches the Goyad Martial Arts Tournament, a massive yearly bloodbath hosted in the Goyad Kingdom. Strictly hard-capped for players between levels 50 and 60, this arena is Barad's personal scouting ground. Claiming the crown means bagging a fat stack of cash, handed over by the absolute legend himself. Ji-han lays it out, plain and simple. If Hyun-soo wants to bypass the insane level requirements and meet the king right now, winning this tournament is his one and only ticket. Remembering Dan's words to conquer the unknown, our protagonist immediately locks coordinates on his next battlefield. With fire in his eyes, our boy begins the epic trek toward the notorious Kasil region. As he walks, Dan's strategic warnings echo in his mind. Sandwiched right between the Prime and Goyad kingdoms, the Kasil territory is a literal meat grinder, a heavily fortified death zone constantly swarmed by infinite waves of the undead. It is the ultimate high-risk, high-reward farming spot, and our overpowered blacksmith is fully prepped to absolutely demolish the grind the second he steps foot in the zone. Centurion Render locks eyes with our guy, practically begging to know if he is the backup. Talk about literally perfect timing. The front lines are bleeding dry, and they need every sword they can get. The commander spills the dark history of the region, explaining how the undead waves are mutating out of control. Back in the golden days, the sacred Ramus bell would echo across the wasteland, wrapping the monsters in a massive debuff. But that divine artifact? Totally shattered. The commander grits his teeth, admitting the monsters caught them completely off guard. Even with stacked barricades, the undead sniffed out their weakness and started swarming the walls. Without missing a beat, Hyunsu asks the golden question. Can the Ramus bell be fixed? Render physically freezes. A crazy realization hits him like a truck as he stares at Hyunsu. Did Master Dang actually send you? Our main character just gives a casual nod. Render absolutely loses his mind, screaming about why he didn't drop that flex earlier, before practically dragging him to the captain's quarters. Enter Captain Ko of the Castle Knights. His eyes narrow as he asks if the legendary Dang actually vouched for this kid. Render aggressively nods yes. He hypes up Hyunsu, saying he is here to inspect the holy artifact, but Kao instantly shoots it down. Dang, already pronounced that bell, completely dead. The local lord dumped a fortune into secret repair missions, but even a level 290 Grandmaster called it a lost cause. Ko scans our boy from head to toe, demanding to know his current level. Hyunsu doesn't even blink. Level 13. Render's jaw literally hits the floor. The captain lets out a heavy sigh, dismissing our protagonist as total dead weight and telling him to go hide in the backlines. Ko lays down the brutal truth. If that undead legion breaches the main gate, this entire fortress gets wiped off the map. Boom! A terrified scout kicks the doors open. The eastern wall is falling. A nightmare wave of level 41 ghouls is blitzing straight for the gates. The panic is real. Ko barks orders, dragging Render to the front lines while warning Hyunsu to keep his mouth permanently zipped about the artifact. But our hero just smirks. If this is anything like the brutal orc raids, it is just free XP. A massive regional war quest flashes across his screen. Defend the gates and slaughter the horde. The undead tsunami crashes against the stone walls while the vanguard fights a desperate bloodbath. Render screams over the chaos. These rotting freaks are built like absolute tanks. Without divine magic, their HP pools are practically infinite. But then, Render's brain short-circuits. Hyunsu instantly one-shots a ghoul right between the eyes. Zero holy magic required. Our boy unleashes his flying arrow technique. The glowing shaft hits with the force of a meteor, tearing a bloody hole straight through the enemy formation. The morale skyrockets. Render roars that victory is actually on the menu. Hyunsu stretches his shoulders, thinking this farming session is an absolute breeze. But then, the system UI bleeds red. Phase 2 begins. A shadow eclipses the battlefield as a colossal siege ghoul raid boss enters the chat. Absolute terror grips the squad. They scream for Captain Ko, but he is drowning in enemies at the main gate. They are completely, totally alone against this titan. Render watches the stone cracking, knowing they are seconds away from a wipeout. Without hesitating, Hyunsu steps to the edge, declaring he is taking all the aggro. He casually dives off the massive fortress wall. The entire squad screams that he is throwing his life away. Hitting the dirt, our protagonist stands toe-to-toe with the rotting giant. He perfectly weaves through its devastating but sluggish strikes, locking its terrifying gaze onto himself. His gamer brain is calculating every angle. Kill the raid boss, save the wall. He flawlessly starts kiting the beast away from the defensive line, but the titan lunges with insane, logic-defying speed. Hyunsu barely evades the shockwave, instantly equipping his bow to unleash a point-blank flying arrow. The glowing projectile nails a perfect headshot, but it literally pings off like a plastic dart. Zero damage. A chill runs straight down Hyunsu's spine. The level gap is absolutely suffocating. The ghoul claps back with a catastrophic swing, instantly nuking our hero's health bar into the red zone. Sub 10%. Red warning lights flash across his vision. Death equals a forced logout penalty, but our boy's eyes burn with defiance. He refuses to take the L today. He spits out blood and dirt. The game's penalty system is totally ruthless, but the real-world stakes are way too high to fail now. If his avatar dies here, he gets locked out of the legendary Goyad martial arts tournament. His dad's mounting medical bills, his own physical therapy, his ultimate comeback as a master blacksmith. Every single dream shatters into dust. This virtual battle is his only lifeline in reality. Gritting his teeth, our protagonist channels every ounce of willpower for one final, desperate stand. He draws back the string and buries another shot deep into the Titan's flesh, forcing a guttural, earth-shaking roar from the monster. But the raid boss counters with a massive sonic shockwave. The impact shreds Hyunsu's health down to a terrifying 3%. Muscles screaming, he still readies another shot. Then, the ultimate nightmare happens. Snap. His bowstring violently breaks in half. The ghoul capitalizes instantly, landing a catastrophic strike that leaves Hyunsu dangling by exactly 1 hit point. Standing at death's absolute door, his eyes blaze with unbreakable resolve. This monstrous tenacity forces the system to glitch, flashing a golden notification. Hidden condition unlocked. His raw determination literally earns the respect of the blacksmithing god. A divine, ultra-rare skill awakens. Emergency god crafting. But the penalty terms are totally insane. He has exactly 20 seconds to forge a legendary weapon from scratch, and it will disintegrate into ashes after just 30 seconds of use. It is the ultimate do-or-die moment. He slams his hands down as the holographic timer starts ticking, 19 seconds on the clock. His hands move in a blinding blur, melting and hammering raw materials with god-tier speed. Right as the countdown hits 0, a blazing new blade is born from the sparks. With a deafening battle cry, he explodes off the ground. Hyunsu goes completely airborne, chanting the lethal incantation for the Scythe of Death sword art. The sheer aura of the attack paralyzes the raid boss in its tracks. In one flawless, cinematic strike, our boy drives the glowing steel straight through the Titan's corrupted heart. The colossal ghoul finally crumbles into dust. Our boy is running on pure fumes, but that sweet system notification flashes before his eyes, confirming the boss is officially eliminated. A massive tidal wave of experience points floods his screen, instantly rocketing him straight to level 38. Hyunsu lets out a heavy breath he didn't realize he was holding. Tournament qualification? Secured. His vision suddenly fades to black as total exhaustion takes over, with Render and the frantic soldiers sprinting toward his collapsing body. Fast forward, our protagonist slowly blinks his eyes open to a ceiling and heavy bandages. But the room is absolutely packed with soldiers, roaring his name like an absolute legend. A veteran steps up, his voice thick with emotion, declaring that Hyunsu is the only reason they are still breathing. Then, Captain Kyle walks through the crowd, bowing his head in pure respect. When asked how on earth he pulled off that miracle win, our guy keeps his cards close to his chest. Let's be real, the actual truth would sound completely unhinged. Kyle refuses to let him act humble, making it crystal clear that Hyunsu hard-carried the entire squad. But deep down in his own mind, the main character breaks down the real strategy. He knew those undead monstrosities had one fatal flaw, a massive weakness to holy aura. That sparked the idea of the Sword of the Four Symbols, an ancient blade practically designed to vaporize pure evil. Channeling the hammering techniques his father drilled into him, he used his god-tier skill to forge it mid-battle. Snapping back to reality, the captain insists on handing over a massive payout. A heavy leather pouch hits Hyunsu's palm, jingling with 2,000 shimmering gold coins. A massive, money-hungry grin instantly spreads across our hero's face. We are talking a cool 20 million won right here. This is the ultimate jackpot. Kyle suddenly gets serious, confessing he totally misjudged Hyunsu as just another weak rookie. The proud captain literally asks for forgiveness. Our boy waves it off like an absolute Chad, and boom, a system prompt confirms their affinity has maxed out. But then the atmosphere shifts. Kyle drops a super heavy formal request. He needs Hyunsu to perform a miracle and repair the sacred Ramesel. Sensing that divine energy radiating from the crafted sword, Kyle is convinced our blacksmith is the chosen one for the job. But Hyunsu politely pumps the brakes. He respects the offer, but he has a one-way ticket booked to the Goyad Kingdom for the tournament. That is when Kyle smirks and drops the ultimate bait. He mentions a treasure that would make any crafter drool. The local lord is sitting on a chunk of literal legendary metal. Fix the bell, and that mythic material is all his. Okay, now you have his attention. Kyle leads him straight to the holy artifacts chamber, dramatically unveiling a pathetic pile of shattered golden scraps. Hyunsu's jaw practically hits the floor. This thing isn't just broken. It is reduced to absolute microscopic dust. The captain looks at him with desperate eyes, asking if a revival is possible. Our guy admits this looks like a complete nightmare, but his gamer brain starts calculating a fix. Out of nowhere, a mysterious girl violently crashes their meeting. She aggressively declares the bell is completely beyond salvation. Even with her insane level of 290, her own repair attempts ended in total failure. Glaring daggers right into our protagonist's soul, she calls him a straight-up scam artist. Suddenly, the narrative flashes back to before this whole mess even started. We meet Nell, universally feared as team leader Kim, and she is dropping an absolute nuclear bomb on the Golden Shield Guild by announcing her immediate resignation. Flame, the guildmaster, looks like his soul just left his body. He desperately begs for an explanation, throwing all their years of blood, sweat, and tears in her face. Her response is ice cold. Her mental bandwidth is completely fried. Flame frantically tries to pull her back from the edge of walking out the door. He swears that if they can just lock down this rookie blacksmith named Hyun-soo, the guild will rise from the ashes. Nell immediately snaps, calling his crazy obsession the exact root of their downfall. She demands to know what kind of madman blows a 500 million won contract on some random nobody they have barely watched for a year. Flame aggressively counters, pointing out the kid sold his very first sword for a whopping 50 million won. He is convinced this guy is the golden ticket to the top rankings, but Nell mercilessly hits him with their traumatic past track record. Remember the last master blacksmith? Just a flaky freelancer who bailed. The guy before that literally stole their massive deposit and vanished into thin air. Oh, and the one who hit the jackpot and ghosted the entire server? She drops these failures like a devastating combo attack, warning him not to block her exit. Completely defeated, Flame finally lowers his head and caves. He softly promises that her seat will always be waiting if she ever changes her mind. Boom, we are snapped right back to the tragic present in Casil Village. Nell boots into the zone, only to find the entire settlement in smoking ruins. A wave of pure shock hits her at the sheer speed of the devastation. Her heart clenches. To her, Casil isn't just lines of code. These villagers aren't soulless NPCs. They are living, breathing people she genuinely cares about. She firmly believes that restoring the sacred Ramus bell is the only way to halt this nightmare. Driven by desperation, she heads to the chamber for one last inspection. But the moment she kicks the doors open, she finds Hyun-soo already hovering over the altar. Without skipping a beat, she immediately brands him a shameless con artist. Our boy tilts his head in utter confusion, asking who this random girl thinks she is. Nell puffs out her chest, flexing her overwhelmingly superior blacksmith ranking. Captain Kyle quickly steps into the crossfire, throwing his hands up to de-escalate the tension. He formally introduces Nell as the legendary expert he hyped up earlier. Turning to Nell, he presents Hyun-soo as the absolute unit who single-handedly slaughtered the ghoul army. Kyle proudly announces that this young hero is stepping up to fix the bell. Nell rolls her eyes so hard it physically hurts. A level 38 monster-hunting noob, trying to restore a divine relic that humbled top-tier professionals? Yeah, right. She points a totally accusatory finger, yelling that he is just a vulture, trying to milk a dying village for easy cash. But Hyun-soo completely tunes out her screaming. His eyes are locked onto the golden shrapnel in front of him. A harsh red system window pops into his vision. It confirms that while a faint holy pulse remains, the physical structure is fundamentally obliterated. Status: normal repair mode is strictly forbidden. Our protagonist instantly realizes that playing by the usual crafting rules is a massive dead end. Without warning, he summons a heavy hammer and viciously smashes a golden fragment. Nell shrieks in pure horror, screaming at him to stop trashing the artifact. Unfazed by her meltdown, Hyun-soo casually drops the mic. Restoration is 100% possible. Meanwhile, the high-level veteran looks ready to actually murder him. Do you even grasp the concept of unrepairable? She snaps. But before the argument can escalate, the heavy wooden doors slam open. A bloodied soldier crashes into the room, screaming that an endless ocean of undead is swarming the gates. The entire room goes dead silent. Suddenly, a glowing system window flashes before their eyes. Our main character assumes it is just another raid quest, but his blood runs cold. This is not a quest. It is a catastrophic server update. The glowing text spells absolute doom. The Casil region update has officially commenced. The countdown is ticking. Once that timer hits 0, this entire zone will be permanently corrupted into a nightmare realm of the undead. Nell drops to her knees, the hope completely draining from her eyes. In her mind, it is absolutely game over. But our boy just smirks, refusing to bow to fate. His eyes burn with pure defiance. He declares that, if they can completely reconstruct the Holy Bell before the server update finishes, they can shatter the corruption and save the region. Nell shakes her head, calling it a literal impossibility. But our protagonist is not backing down. He steps right into her space, locking eyes with her and throwing down a heavy challenge. "Weren't you the one who swore to protect Casil with your life?" he demands. The words strike a nerve. Biting her lip, Nell quietly admits that Hyun-soo is absolutely right. Yet, she is completely clueless on how to pull off a miracle of this scale. Our hero does not miss a beat. He simply turns his back and commands her to follow his lead. With a swift motion, he sweeps every last shattered fragment of the Ramus bell into his inventory. His voice echoes with unbreakable resolve as he vows that they are going to save Casil together. Gripping his blade, Captain Cal looks Hyun-soo dead in the eye. "The fate of this city rests in your hands," the captain swears, promising to hold the front line of monsters until his last breath. Smash, cut to the blazing heat of the blacksmith workshop. Nell paces nervously, begging Hyun-soo to reveal his master plan. Without hesitating, our protagonist starts laying down some absolute genius-level crafting theory. He explains that, when he smashed the first crystal shard, the divine aura did not vanish. This proves the holy energy is hard-coded right into the core material. His insane strategy? Melt the cursed fragments down and forge a brand new, legendary bell from scratch. He is betting everything that the purified divine power will roar back 10 times stronger. Nell stares at him in pure shock. In all her years of gaming, she has never witnessed a crafting method this reckless. Hyun-soo just gives a knowing smile. He tells her that true restoration is not just about high-level stats or raw skill. It is about fundamentally connecting with the very soul of the artifact. The furnace roars to life, blasting them with intense heat. Nell watches, completely dumbfounded. Is this crazy guy seriously planning to hammer out a legendary tier item entirely by hand? Wiping sweat from his brow, our boy shoots her a sharp look. "Why are you just standing around being a spectator?" he asks. He swallows his pride and admits the truth. He absolutely needs her high-tier support to pull this off. Meanwhile, back in the real world, at the game studio headquarters, the atmosphere is suffocating. A stressed developer stares at the Kasil region live monitor. The catastrophic server update has less than 60 minutes left on the clock. Kim Tae-sik, the head game director, leans forward in his gaming chair. His eyes are practically glued to the massive main monitor, analyzing every single pixel of the unfolding chaos. A junior programmer scoffs, betting that one solo player could never derail a massive server event. But a female dev quickly shuts him down. She points at the screen, revealing that Nell, an absolute top-tier ranker, is grinding right alongside him. Back in the virtual realm, the apocalyptic deadline strikes. The battlefield is an absolute meat grinder. Blood and steel clash as Captain Cal screams until his lungs give out, ordering his vanguard to hold the damn line. But the defense is crumbling. Exhausted knights collapse into the mud one by one. A massive, grotesque abomination shatters the shield wall. Without missing a beat, Cal launches himself into the air and cleaves the beast in half. Panting heavily, the captain sprints toward his fallen brothers in arms, begging them not to close their eyes. But in the middle of this nightmare, a sickening crack echoes. A massive fracture splits straight down Captain Cal's broadsword. His stomach drops into an endless abyss. A monstrous shadow leaps toward his face, and Cal braces for the final game over screen. But then, a heaven-shaking, resonant chime detonates across the blood-soaked valley. Every single undead abomination freezes like a glitching server. The horde drops their weapons, clawing at their rotting skulls in sheer agony. Ear-piercing shrieks fill the sky as the monsters spontaneously erupt into blinding white flames. The majestic, holy shockwave of the mysterious bell washes over the entire continent like a tidal wave of pure light. Captain Cal thrusts his broken sword to the heavens, roaring in absolute, unfiltered triumph. The legendary Ramus bell has actually been reborn. Smash cut to the real-world developer headquarters. An exhausted coder literally violently spits his energy drink all over his glowing keyboard in pure shock. Inside the smoke-filled workshop, Hyun-soo stands victorious. Back at the office, Kim Tae-sik reveals an absolutely insane piece of data. Our crazy protagonist has not logged out or slept a single second since the doomsday countdown started 7 days ago. A rapid flashback rips us back into the sheer grinding madness. Rewind the clock to 5 days before 0 hour. Hyun-soo kicked open the doors of the Kasil workshop, practically sparking with manic energy. He rallied the terrified NPCs, ordering them to throw literally everything they owned into the blazing inferno. It was the only way to extract every last drop of divine mana. While Hyun-soo furiously sketched out god-tier blueprints, he tossed Nell the reins. She became the ultimate raid commander, whipping the chaotic villagers into shape and funneling endless supplies to the bleeding frontline. With the stage finally set, our hero took a deep breath. A golden aura exploded from his body as he triggered his ridiculously overpowered, custom-made god-crafting skill. His massive brain strategy hypercharged the relic's holy damage multiplier and hard-code a massive area of effect nuke specifically designed to vaporize the undead. He screamed at the sweating villagers to push the furnace heat beyond the game's limits. Burning with a desperate, shared desire to protect their virtual home, the NPCs worked like possessed demons. Hyun-soo barked orders like a drill sergeant, ensuring not a single micro-ounce of impurity tainted the molten metal. Every strike of the hammer, every roar of the flames, was fueled by the literal blood, sweat, and tears of the desperate city. The cycle of endless grinding blurred together. From day 4, straight into the apocalyptic final hours, reality itself felt like a fever dream. Nell stood guard with heavy eyelids, until her stamina bar finally hit 0, and she blacked out on the stone floor. She jerks awake with a sharp gasp. Panic floods her veins as she checks the game clock, absolutely horrified by how long her character was knocked out. But then, her eyes lock onto the glowing masterpiece in the center of the room. Her jaw drops. This absolute madman actually solo grinded the final stages without a break. Suddenly, a golden system window chimes in the air. Her hidden apprentice title is radiating with blinding light. Just by witnessing the birth of a divine artifact, her crafting efficiency stats permanently skyrocketed by 22%. Nell stares at Hyunsu's back, completely spellbound. Is this messy-haired guy actually a hidden, god-tier masterclass player? Catching her movement out of the corner of his eye, Hyunsu flashes a tired smirk. He casually roasts her, joking that she was snoring like a baby, while he was literally hammering heaven and earth together. Nell's face turns beet red as she stammers a defense, swearing she only closed her eyes for a second. Our protagonist just laughs it off, reassuring her that the hellish marathon is finally over. The atmosphere shifts. Nell takes a deep breath and drops the heavy question. Is he the legendary, anonymous craftsman, simply known as blacksmith Hyunsu? Our boy does not hide it anymore. He gives a confident nod and presses his palm against the cooling metal of the divine bell. The massive relic hums with terrifying, world-class energy. In a flash of blinding light, his exclusive maker's mark burns itself deep into the golden surface. Nell is completely captivated by the majestic sight. Calling it beautiful is an absolute insult, she whispers in pure awe. This is a generation-defining masterpiece. Right on cue, a server-wide system alert triggers, officially classifying this absolute beauty as Hyunsu's second-ever custom mythic creation. The stat screen is utterly broken. It boasts an impossible infinite durability trait. An item the game itself deemed permanently destroyed has been reborn. Nell shivers, realizing that the tragic lore of the relic is exactly what feeds its overwhelming aura. She confesses, her voice trembling with emotion, that in all her days, gaming at the top percentile, she has never witnessed a miracle like this. Overwhelmed by sheer respect, Nell suddenly lunges forward and tightly grips Hyunsu's calloused hands. Please, promise you will stay by my side from now on, she begs, her eyes sparkling. Hyunsu completely freezes in his tracks. Hold up, is this a love confession? He asks, totally bewildered. Nell's face instantly explodes into a massive tomato red blush. I meant as a business partner, you idiot, she stammers. Suddenly, the romantic tension shatters, yanking us right back into the chaotic heart of the battlefield. With everything on the line, our hero winds up and strikes the newly forged Ramus bell. Boom! Blinding shockwaves of pure holy energy explode outward, instantly turning the undead horde into absolute ash. The monsters let out blood-curdling shrieks as they are literally deleted from the server. The surviving soldiers drop their weapons, absolutely paralyzed as they witness a literal miracle unfold. Ding! The glowing system interface flashes, officially confirming the impossible. Hyunsu did not just craft a legendary artifact, he completely annihilated the undead apocalypse. By stopping the region update dead in its tracks, he just forced the game to generate a brand new storyline. We actually did it, our boy roars, throwing his hands up and praising the heavens for beating the clock. But the second the adrenaline leaves his system, his legs give out like jelly. He crashes hard into the dirt. Nell instantly sprints to his side, her voice trembling in absolute panic as she checks his vitals. A golden hologram pops up, announcing the quest is complete. But wait, there is more. A secondary window chimes in, revealing that the rewards have been massively upgraded thanks to his history-making performance. Meanwhile, the Ares online forums are basically catching fire. A massive thread drops, completely exposing the epic truth behind the Kassel region's failed update. Screenshots of the restored tower go instantly viral. Eagle-eyed players zoom in and immediately recognize our boy. Wait, isn't that the legend who crafted Hyunsu's first custom sword? The community absolutely loses its collective mind. He actually fixed the mythical Ramus bell. Within minutes, thousands of hardcore gamers smash the follow button on his creator profile. Ping, ping, ping. Hyunsu groggily opens his eyes to an absolute avalanche of system notifications. He rubs the sleep from his face, glances at his workshop dashboard, and his jaw drops. The follower count just shattered 111,655. He stares at the glowing numbers in pure disbelief, before a massive, cocky grin spreads across his face. Engraving his personal signature right onto the legendary bell was a total genius move. Now, every single player who steps foot in Kassel is going to see his brand. Hello, ultimate free marketing. A heavy knock interrupts his celebration. Captain Cal swings the door open, flashing a $1 million smile. Ah, the grand savior of our realm has finally returned to the land of the living, he booms. The knight straightens his posture, proudly announcing that by the decree of the regional lord, he has personally arrived to deliver the promised bounty. He drops an absolutely massive sack of gold coins onto the table. Our boy's brain short-circuits. Doing the real-world math, that payout translates to a jaw-dropping 330 million won. Cal chuckles at his shocked expression, insisting that only a true hero deserves a king's ransom. But he isn't finished. He slides a beautifully crafted wooden box across the table, a VIP gift straight from the Lord himself. The lid pops open, revealing a shimmering chunk of pure, legendary orichalcum. Hyun-soo stammers out his deepest thanks, but the seasoned knight immediately waves it off with a solemn shake of his head. "No, my friend. We are the ones forever in your debt," Cal replies softly. He points out that while every other outlander ran for the hills when the sky fell, Hyun-soo planted his feet and fought for their lives. The raw, unfiltered gratitude in the captain's eyes hits our hero right in the chest. In that quiet moment, Hyun-soo realizes something profound. The agonizing pain these NPCs endure feels exactly like the crushing despair he's battled in the real world. Packing up his epic loot, Hyun-soo announces he needs to head back to his original reality. The captain bows his head in absolute respect, wishing him a safe journey home. With his virtual pockets absolutely loaded, our boy knows it is finally time to take back his real-world legacy. He hits the menu, and his avatar dissolves into the logout sequence. Captain Cal and his loyal attendant stare quietly at the empty space where the hero just vanished. Outlanders truly are a mysterious bunch, aren't they? The captain whispers in awe. Cut to the buzzing streets of Gwangju the very next morning. Hyun-soo sits across from real estate shark Kang Hak-soo. The businessman casually checks his phone, only to freeze dead at a massive banking alert. The screen violently flashes. Deposit received, 330 million won. Kang's jaw practically hits the floor. He stares at the young man, absolutely flabbergasted that he managed to pull off the impossible. Let's rewind the clock exactly 1 year. A broken Hyun-soo sits slumped across from the very same investor, staring blankly at a stack of depressing property documents. Kang taps his calculator, sighing heavily. The total financial damage from the disaster? A soul-crushing 330 million won. He offers his condolences about the devastating workshop fire. He gently reminds the kid that the meager insurance payout needs to go straight toward his family's mounting hospital bills. The seasoned investor pats his shoulder, telling him to stay strong through the storm. Kang packs his briefcase to leave, but Hyun-soo suddenly grabs his arm, desperately begging for a chance to buy the ruins back. Kang stops dead in his tracks, wondering if he heard that right. Our protagonist does not blink. He vows that if he can somehow scrape together the impossible mountain of cash, he wants first dibs on the land. The older man shakes his head, brutally honest. Throwing millions at a pile of charred rubble is financial suicide. A smart kid would just take the cash and start fresh somewhere else. But Hyun-soo's eyes blaze with stubborn fire. That workshop holds every single memory of his late father. Seeing the raw desperation in the boy's soul, Kang finally caves and offers him a lifeline. He slams a finger on the desk, granting him exactly 365 days, but he makes it crystal clear. The second that timer hits 0, the property gets auctioned off to the highest bidder with 0 exceptions. Our hero bows deeply, a flicker of hope igniting in his chest. Kang grabs his coat, throwing a challenging smirk over his shoulder. "I will be waiting for your call, kid." Snapping back to the present reality, Kang is still staring helplessly at his banking app. A proud chuckle escapes his lips as he admits he is genuinely blown away. "When we made that deal, I honestly thought you were chasing a pipe dream," the investor confesses. Hyun-soo just scratches the back of his neck, laughing that the 1-year deadline was a total blind gamble. He knew he was walking a tightrope, where one wrong move meant losing his father's legacy forever. But against all odds, the absolute madman actually did it. Chairman Kang actually came through. Our boy just has to know, why did this massive VIP cut him so much slack? The heavyweight investor cracks a smile, revealing that Hyun-soo was the literal first person in history to demand buying back a lost property the exact second it slipped away. That raw, unyielding grit hooked him completely. Overwhelmed with relief, our protagonist bows his head, knowing that because of this single act of mercy, his father's sacred legacy remains untouched, but a debt of honor demands repayment. When Hyun-soo brings up the virtual reality sensation Ares, Kang completely loses it, joking that even his grandma is probably grinding levels. Dropping a massive flex, our hero reveals his true identity as a master blacksmith inside the game. Kang totally agrees that it matches his stubborn vibe, especially when Hyun-soo promises to forge him an absolute god-tier custom artifact. Stats do not even matter to the chairman, he just wants something dripping with exclusive aura. Our protagonist swears on his hammer to deliver a masterpiece that will break the server. Fast forward to a bustling in-game tavern, where Nell frantically waves him down. It is their first face-to-face since surviving that undead nightmare, and she instantly roasts him for being literally impossible to track down. He rubs the back of his neck with a sheepish apology, but she just laughs off the tension before slamming a physical resume right onto the wooden table. Time for the ultimate flex. She formally introduces herself as the former chief brain of the Golden Shield Guild, proudly claiming she was the mastermind who built that massive empire from the dirt up. Leaning in close, she drops the absolute truth. After witnessing his insane performance in the castle region, she knows without a single doubt that he is destined for the absolute apex of the rankings. This tactical genius does not beat around the bush. The second our boy decides to drop his own guild banner, she demands to be stamped as founding member number 1. Hyunsoo smirks, roasting her right back about how she literally accused him of being a massive scammer just a few days ago. Nell flushes red, furiously defending that anyone would have called cap on his crazy stats. With a warm laugh, he tells her to chill, officially locking in their legendary partnership. But right before stepping out, he decides to drop an absolute bombshell about his next move. Nell's jaw hits the floor as our protagonist casually announces his plan to crash the gates of Sword King Barad, one of the game's untouchable 10 legends. Shoving a massive piece of meat into his mouth, our boy nonchalantly confirms he is signing up for the ultra-violent Goyad martial arts tournament. He is totally fixated on the rumor that the champion gets a face-to-face prize drop from the king himself. Nell nods, though her eyes scream pure anxiety. She frantically tries to warn him that this arena is a meat grinder packed with the sweatiest tryhards and elite prodigies in the server. Hyunsoo just brushes off the hype, claiming that makes dominating them all the more satisfying. Watching him devour his food like a completely relaxed maniac, Nell questions his entire sanity, but our protagonist just flashes a confident grin, telling her to sit back and watch the show. He plans to absolutely carry the tournament using his own secret sauce, leaving her brain completely short-circuiting. Suddenly, the dawn breaks on the legendary Goyad martial arts tournament. The head honcho of the arena, Beckel, glares down at the fresh meat, roaring that the absolute bloodbath will kick off the second his boots leave the stage. Once the bell rings, it is player versus monster survival time. But Beckel drops a spine-chilling reminder, noting that even if the throne looks empty, His Majesty Sword King Barad is absolutely watching every single move from the shadows, so they better not embarrass themselves. With a wicked smirk, he tells them to try not to die. A massive, glowing system prompt shatters the sky, signaling the official start of the slaughter. Down in the dirt, dozens of rookies grip their weapons, sweating bullets. The tutorial objective is simple: survive an incoming golem stampede for exactly 60 minutes. Blinded by greed, a swarm of newbies charge forward, absolutely starving for some easy experience points. But then, a blazing red emergency window crashes into their vision. A massive bounty is placed on the head of a level 109 stone golem that just dropped into the pit. One random participant literally screams his lungs out, crying foul at this brutally unbalanced difficulty spike. He begs the admins for mercy, crying that round 1 was supposed to be a total cakewalk. But another heavily armored fool charges forward, screaming about first come, first serve loot. In half a second, the massive rock titan flattens the guy like a pancake, triggering a brutal forced logout. Pure, unfiltered panic erupts as the beast starts deleting players from the server one by one. It is not a tournament, it is a total massacre. The surviving participants watch their health bars flash red, realizing they walked straight into a glitchy death trap. Fear paralyzes the crowd as they realize taking down a level 109 boss in the tutorial is mathematically impossible. Hyunsoo just chills in the back, silently observing the beautiful chaos while everyone else cries about getting totally scammed. Up in the high roller box, Tournament Master Beckel sweats literal buckets as he realizes his flawless event has turned into a massive dumpster fire. A catastrophic server bug just dropped a high-tier boss straight into the newbie playground. Terrified of a total server wipeout, Beckel sprints for his life toward the royal chambers. He kicks open the heavy oak doors, desperately calling for Sword King Barad to pull the plug on this absolute disaster immediately. But the legendary king completely shuts him down. Before Beckel can even process the rejection, Barad gestures with a heavy, armored hand, ordering him to look at the massive viewing screen. The king's terrifying gaze is locked onto one specific, unfazed player standing in the blood and dust. He orders his panicked subordinate to shut up and watch that kid closely. Down in the kill zone, Hyunsoo casually draws his bow, releasing a blindingly bright arrow that slams right into the boss. Enter his third, beautifully busted masterpiece, the Orichalcum Aegis. This absolute hack of a weapon spits in the face of in-game physics, snapping back to the user's hand like a magical boomerang. The surviving tryhards collectively lose their minds, screaming aloud about how a literal arrow is bending space and time to return to its owner. A cocky smirk creeps onto our protagonist's face. This divine loot, forged from his hard-earned castle region rewards, is performing flawlessly under pressure. Powered by the incredibly rare, legendary Orichalcum, our boy knocks the radiant projectile and lets it rip a second time. Boom, another devastating direct hit to the rock giant. But as the arrow curves back home, it nearly gives a random bystander an unintended free haircut. The traumatized player screeches at Hyunsoo, furiously asking if friendly fire is turned on. Our boy just awkwardly waves, tossing out a quick apology. But that double tap triggers a brutal 4-second crowd control stun on the giant boss. The surrounding players suddenly realize the monster is completely frozen, and the whole arena roars to gank the immovable target immediately. A blinding tsunami of magic, steel, and desperate ultimate attacks rains down on the paralyzed golem. Unfortunately for them, the massive beast just tanks the damage like an absolute unit. Snapping out of its stun, it lets out an earth-shattering roar and immediately goes into murder mode. The chat fills with pure panic as players scream to fall back before the boss triggers its berserk phase. But the furious monster ignores everyone else, its glowing red eyes locking exactly onto our hero. Barreling forward like a runaway bullet train, one battered competitor screams that they just have to hold out a few more seconds. Another voice shrieks at our guy to dodge. Everywhere you look, fighters are getting absolutely ragdolled, burning everything just to stay breathing. But yielding is not in his vocabulary. In a split-second flash, our hero equips his daylight sword, ready to clash. He eats the colossal strike head-on, but the sheer kinetic force craters him right into the arena floor. Up in the VIP box, tournament director Bekel practically begs Sword King Barad, urging him to pull the plug before this contestant gets deleted. But the monarch just leans in, his eyes gleaming with intense fascination. Then, the impossible happens. Flat on his back, Hyun-soo triggers his emergency god-crafting skill. The system loading bar maxes out instantly. A dazzling light forms Damascus Sword. 2. An exclusive, temporary blade, forged with one pure purpose, obliterating solid rock. With a single, earth-shattering swing, our boy completely deletes the stone boss. The blade instantly shatters into glowing pixels, having served its one-time use. Instantly, a massive wall of system alerts spams his retinas. His jaw drops as his level spikes by 14 tiers in the blink of an eye. Talk about an absolutely cracked XP drop. The surviving players are left paralyzed, brains entirely short-circuiting over how he just one-shotted a raid boss. Meanwhile, Hyun-soo tilts his head, utterly bewildered, asking if they were not supposed to actually kill it. The traumatized fighters stutter back that the whole objective was just surviving. This hellish trial has 3 distinct phases, and that absurdly overleveled golem dropping in had already glitched the difficulty to max. They frantically explain it was purely an endurance test, never meant to be beaten. The reality finally clicks in his brain. He literally just broke the entire server event by accident. Without warning, the world spins. His mana pool hits 0, and he instantly blacks out, hitting the dirt hard. The peanut gallery cautiously swarms his body, realizing that despite being unconscious, his avatar is still tethered to the server. The gossip immediately shifts to his insane stats. Originally, they pegged him as some hybrid build, but now, they are fully convinced he is a hidden class weapon master. Every single one of them is drooling over the idea of owning just one piece of gear, with stats that hilariously busted. Cutting through the chatter, Bakel's voice booms across the arena, declaring that thanks to an administrative glitch, the prestigious Goyard tournament is officially paused. He demands an immediate evacuation of the Colosseum. Out in the real world, clips of the god-tier play of Hyun-soo are already going insanely viral. Tens of thousands flood into the livestream, locked onto the feed of his sleeping avatar. The chat is moving at light speed, absolutely losing their minds over his solo boss carry, begging for his exact loadout specs. Then, one eagle-eyed viewer goes full internet detective, spotting a discarded arrow in the rubble. Enhancing the image, they catch a custom engraving on the shaft. The community hive mind instantly puts the pieces together. It is none other than blacksmith Hyun-soo, the legendary crafter who fixed the literally impossible Casil bell. The forums completely explode, screaming about how a non-combat support class is dealing this much raw DPS. Meanwhile, back at the corporate headquarters, the customer support hub is literally burning down with tickets. They are drowning in a tsunami of raging players demanding to know why the stream died. The exhausted reps are forced to copy-paste the same PR response, blaming the sudden halt on the ultimate free will of the AI system, Ares. Fans are deep in the trenches, theorizing it is some massive hidden lore event within the Goyard faction, while the mods just keep dropping endless apologies. Cut to the dev sweatshop, where a panicked programmer flags down her lead, warning of a catastrophic system trigger. Drowning in code, he brushes her off, but she practically screams that the Goyard event just crashed. He sighs, waving it off as an expected bug they can patch later. But she grabs his attention, dropping the real nuke. The AI of King Barad is manually overriding protocols to summon player Hyun-soo. The team lead freezes. He stammers out that this timeline is entirely broken, since reaching the throne room is supposed to take months of grinding. But the coder grimly confirms that the anomaly is literally walking down the royal corridors right now. The lead slumps in his chair, feeling his weekend plans evaporate into another brutal crunch shift. He groans that this one guy is a walking glitch, shattering every algorithmic boundary they programmed. A cold sweat forms as he calculates the worst-case scenario. What if this wildcard actually clears the legendary quest of the Sword King and maxes out his hidden faction rep? The realization hits him like a truck. If that happens, this crazy blacksmith might actually inherit the ultimate sword art, mutating into the most broken combat crafter in server history. He tries to cope, muttering that the super advanced Barad AI surely will not make it easy, but his junior dev just stares at the monitor, whispering that she genuinely thinks the madman is going to pull it off. This pure doom posting sends the lead into a panic, begging her not to manifest that nightmare into reality. Cut to the next server day. Hyun-soo finds himself flanked by heavily armored guards, marching straight into the heart of the royal palace. Even he is sweating a bit, realizing he completely speedran his way to the final boss of the kingdom. Dropping to one knee on the polished marble, he waits as the towering monarch officially greets him as a wanderer. The imposing Sword King speaks, his voice rumbling like thunder. He explains that tradition dictates a massive public reward ceremony, but considering the absolute chaos of yesterday, he requests a little discretion, keeping this VIP meeting strictly off the books. He confidently promises that within 24 hours, the whole server will hail Hyun-soo as an unparalleled weapon master. But plot twist, breaking every rule of NPC interaction, our guy casually stands up right in the middle of the royal monologue. Locking eyes with the absolute ruler, he flatly mentions he heard a rumor the king was searching for him. The aggro meters in the room instantly spike to maximum. The elite royal guard absolutely loses their minds, drawing steel and roaring that this level of disrespect is an execution-worthy offense. They do not care if he soloed a god. You do not just cut off the sovereign. Unfazed by the blades at his throat, our boy simply smirks and casually drops his true gamer tag. He is not a warrior. He is blacksmith Hyun-soo. This bizarre flex only enrages the knights further, and they step in to physically launch him out of the palace. But the air suddenly grows heavy. With a single, commanding raise of his hand, Sword King Barad halts his men in their tracks. A massive grin spreads across the face of the monarch, confirming that this bold player is the exact puzzle piece he has been waiting for. The stage is perfectly set, a humble crafter standing toe-to-toe with the legendary Sword King himself. "You're late," booms, one of the 10 absolute legends of Ares. Our boy just sighs, muttering that the trek here was absolute hell. Sword King Barad's gaze cuts right through him. "Do you know why I pulled you here?" Hyun-soo smirks, betting it's for a custom blade. The king nods. Spot on. The monarch reveals a brutal truth. Every top-tier blacksmith in the kingdom, even the legendary Tower Master Da Young, has completely bombed this mission. So why should he place his faith in a total wildcard? The room's pressure is literally suffocating, but our hero stands tall, declaring he only brings one thing to the table: pure, unadulterated skill. Barad erupts into booming laughter. He totally eats up the kid's insane audacity, deciding right then and there to gamble on Hyun-soo's massive ego. With a snap of his fingers, the royal guards haul out the payload. A glowing chest thuds onto the floor. Inside lies a treasure beyond belief: 100-year-old cold iron. We are talking about an ultra-rare ore that has been soaking up sub-zero temperatures for an entire century. This bad boy boasts maxed-out fire resistance and crazy unique frost attributes. Hyun-soo just stares, completely hypnotized. The metal radiates an aura straight out of a legendary martial arts novel. The Sword King drops his ultimate demand. He wants a blade ranked epic tier or higher, and it needs to practically bleed frost. The stakes? If he nails the craft, Barad promises to grant him literally any wish his heart desires. But if he crafts garbage, our boy catches a lifetime ban from the Goyard Kingdom. Ding! The system chimes as the King's Commission quest window flashes before his eyes. The conditions are terrifyingly simple. Earn the monarch's absolute approval. The payout is mind-blowing, one blank check wish from an absolute powerhouse. But the fail condition is an instant, humiliating exile. Without missing a beat, our protagonist smashes that accept button, swearing on his pride that the king won't be disappointed. Fast forward to the royal forge. Hyun-soo can practically feel laser beams scorching the back of his skull. He whips around, only to lock eyes with a fiercely glaring knight. Meet Bella, the Goyard Kingdom's vice-captain, sitting pretty at a whopping level 301. Sure, he is the new guy in town, but having a high-level watchdog breathing down his neck is seriously creeping him out. Still, he cannot blame them for being paranoid. Bella coldly orders him to just pretend she is invisible. Hyun-soo flashes a cheeky, sarcastic grin. "Is my sweating that incredibly obvious?" She hits him with a deadpan. "Yes." Internally, the vice-captain is seething, wondering who this cocky brat actually thinks he is. She grits her teeth, remembering that His Highness just bet the kingdom's entire future on this totally unproven outsider. For her, blowing this quest is absolutely out of the question. The invisible weight in the room is crushing our boy. But suddenly, ding-dong, a completely jarring doorbell sound rips through his game interface. Hyun-soo blinks in pure confusion, before realizing his real-world system alert is going off. Ripping off his VR headset, he cracks open his crappy apartment door, only to find his exhausted-looking landlady on the other side. She nervously admits that her husband just got laid off, and they are forced to put the building on the market. They need cold, hard cash, and they need it yesterday. She is bowing and apologizing like crazy, but Hyunsoo waves it off, telling her she has nothing to be sorry for. He just braces himself and asks for the deadline. The devastating answer? He has to pack up and vanish in exactly 2 weeks. The poor woman looks mortified, but our guy swallows his pride, thanking her for giving him a decent roof over his head. The second the door clicks shut, the reality hits him like a freight train. 2 weeks. His soul completely leaves his body. Sure, he has been farming a ton of gold inside Ares, but his real-world bills are literally dragging him underwater. His dad's medical debt is skyrocketing into the millions, and resurrecting his charred blacksmith workshop already drained a devastating 330 million won from his bank account. To make matters worse, he hasn't even dropped a single dime on his own burn scar treatments yet. Our hero absolutely faceplants into rock bottom, desperately wondering how he is going to avoid becoming homeless. Right on cue, his phone buzzes. It is Nell on the line. She chirps up, asking what he is up to, hyping up some 200 IQ strategy she just cooked up for his epic quest. But Hyunsoo weakly begs for a rain check, groaning that his brain is completely short-circuiting right now. Her gamer instincts flare up instantly, and she interrogates him until he totally cracks. He confesses that while the Royal Commission is insane, he is literally facing eviction in 14 days. Nell sighs in heavy frustration, loudly reminding him that this quest is his absolute golden ticket. She breaks down the massive stakes at play. Right at this very moment, the entire gaming community is furiously debating if the monster rookie who swept the Goyard tournament and the genius blacksmith Hyunsoo are actually the exact same player. She orders him to stay strictly off the radar for now, because the second he drops that bombshell reveal, it is going to completely break the internet. She fiercely reminds him that he holds a direct contract from Sword King Barad, arguably the most overpowered NPC in the entire server. Nell tells him to close his eyes and picture it. Picture the exact second the king unsheathes a legendary blade, stamped with Hyunsoo's own signature. That is the exact moment his market value shoots straight to the moon. That astronomical potential is exactly why she is going all in on his success. Our boy lets out a breath and genuinely thanks her. Her pep talk just slapped his gamer spirit right back into his body. He vows to grind like a complete madman to turn this around. Hyunsoo instantly dives back into the virtual world, only to be blasted by Bella, screaming at the top of her lungs. She is absolutely furious, violently demanding to know what took him so incredibly long to log back in. Hyunsoo blinks, totally bewildered, and asks what apocalyptic event just went down. Bella drops an absolute nuke on his head. His Royal Highness, the invincible Sword King, is currently trapped inside the dragon's nest. Hyunsoo's jaw hits the floor. Wait, trapped exactly where? Bella glares at him like he just sprouted a second head. She is absolutely flabbergasted by his clueless reaction, wondering how he can look so horrified when he clearly has zero idea where that zone even is. Hyunsoo just awkwardly shrugs, admitting he was just trying to read the room and match her intense energy. Bella snarls at him to cut the clown act immediately, because the clock is viciously ticking down. She frantically explains that the Flame Nest is the ultimate endgame zone, crawling with high-tier fire monsters. And buried deep inside lies the Ifrit Dungeon, a literal fiery hellscape where no player or NPC, except the monarch himself, has ever walked out of breathing. Our protagonist's brain completely stalls out. Why on earth would the overpowered king voluntarily march into a confirmed death trap? Our guy realizes the king charged in completely empty-handed. That is when Bella drops an absolute bombshell. The king's ultimate target for vengeance is lurking inside that very dungeon. Hearing the word revenge makes our boy freeze in his tracks. He never expected to uncover such dark baggage tied to the royal leader. Meanwhile, the camera cuts straight to the Flame Nest. Sword King Barad staggers onto the scene, bleeding heavily but refusing to fall. Standing before the massive dungeon gate, he knows the true nightmare is waiting on the other side. The king glares at his current blade, realizing it is absolute garbage against the approaching inferno. Thanking the heavens that his squad escaped alive, a grim reality sets in. Backup is still a brutal 3 days away. A bitter smirk crosses Barad's battered face. Deep down, he wonders if charging in without the blacksmith's masterpiece was a fatal mistake. Suddenly, a heart-wrenching memory hits him like a freight train. The unbearable grief of losing his only son, Ban, threatens to consume him all over again. If Ban were still breathing today, he would be the exact same age as that young craftsman, Hyunsoo. The darkest day of his life replays on an endless loop. In the flashback, a blood-soaked Ban weakly calls out for his dad while fading on the cold dungeon floor. A desperate Barad screams, begging to know why his boy recklessly charged into this death trap entirely alone. Coughing up blood, Bond confesses he just wanted to clear the zone and finally make his legendary father proud. But reality hit him too hard, and he realized his strength simply was not enough. Tears streaming down his face, Barad begs his boy to hold on, screaming that he has absolutely nothing to apologize for. Yet, with one final, agonizing whisper of, "I am sorry," Bond's eyes lose their light. The tragic flashback fades out, leaving a shattered king clutching his boy's lifeless body in a state of absolute despair. Snapping back to the present, the Sword King's eyes burn with pure resolve. Playing it safe and waiting might be the smart move, but letting Ifrit escape again? Not a chance in hell. He has hunted this monster in the shadows for years, and today, one of them is going into the dirt. Dragging his battered body, the king marches straight into the blazing abyss. Cutting back to the forge, Bella lays out the terrifying stakes. Ever since the young prince perished, the king has been on a relentless, suicidal crusade to hunt down Ifrit. Yet, the fiery demon has somehow always slipped through his fingers. With a trembling voice, she admits this dungeon raid might truly be His Majesty's final stand. Bella looks Hyun-soo dead in the eyes, confessing that putting her faith in a random craftsman feels completely insane. But if the king bet his life on this boy, she has to believe in him too. Swallowing her pride, the elite Goyad knight bows her head completely, begging our main character to pull off a miracle and save her liege. Boom! A glowing red emergency quest triggers right in front of him. A sword that can save the king. The clear condition is dead simple. Accept Bella's desperate plea. The payout promises massive reputation gains, but the failure penalty is downright catastrophic. If he messes up, it guarantees the absolute death of Sword King Barad. The mission objective stares him right in the face. Forge an ultimate weapon capable of altering fate itself. The heavy weight of the king's tragic backstory hits our protagonist right in the chest. He is instantly reminded of his own dark past, where his life was turned to ashes. Could he have survived that kind of soul-crushing loss without breaking? A fierce fire ignites in Hyun-soo's eyes as he tells Bella he is officially locked in. Wasting zero time, he fires up the forge. The rhythm of the hammer striking steel echoes loudly as he plunges the glowing metal into the cooling vat, analyzing the boss lore. Ifrit's hellfire is so overpowered it melts unique tier gear like absolute butter. The math is simple. He has to craft something that completely shatters the unique tier ceiling. Our boy zones in on the secret ingredient, the 100-year-old cold iron. His game plan? Maximize its frost properties until it becomes literally indestructible against heat. While he pounds away at the anvil, a golden system notification pops up. His mastery over the mystical ore has evolved to a whole new level. Suddenly, an epic alert triggers. The spirit of the blacksmith has awakened. The system recognizes that Hyun-soo is pouring his absolute soul into this singular creation, fusing pure passion, relentless drive, and deep empathy for the king. He unlocks the ultimate flow state. Our boy is completely dialed in, operating on a different wavelength, and the payoff is absolutely insane. The system officially declares the birth of our protagonist's very first legendary tier masterpiece. A massive shockwave of blinding light erupts from the anvil. Bella covers her eyes in pure shock, praying the miracle is complete. When the smoke clears, Hyun-soo is gripping a violently glowing weapon. A terrifying, freezing aura pulses from the blade, flash freezing the entire room's temperature instantly. With a badass smirk, he announces it is time to go rescue a king. Back in the blazing depths of the flame nest, a blood-curdling scream echoes out. Taking a devastating blow, Sword King Barad crashes to his knees in agony. Rising from the sea of hellfire, the ultimate dungeon boss finally reveals its true, terrifying form. Enter Ifrit, a monstrous level, 490 catastrophe. Spitting blood, Barad growls that he has waited an eternity for this exact showdown. With a primal roar, he charges straight into the jaws of death. Ifrit lets out an ear-piercing screech. The epic deathmatch between the legendary swordsman and the demon of ashes officially kicks off. The king somehow manages to parry the initial strikes, but the sheer kinetic force of the monster is totally absurd. He is getting violently pushed back. Panic sets in when Barad realizes the demon's blade is constructed out of concentrated magma. Ifrit unleashes a merciless, lightning-fast combo that shatters the king's guard completely. Summoning a massive firestorm, the demon blasts the heavily injured king across the arena. Coughing up ash, Barad drops to one knee, letting out a dark chuckle as he curses his twisted fate. Believing this is truly game over, he watches Ifrit wind up the executioner's strike. But just as a gigantic magma spear hurtles toward his face, a massive blade of pure frost violently deflects the attack. Hyun-soo and Bella have officially entered the chat with perfect timing. Screaming over the roaring flames, Bella tosses the newly forged masterpiece straight to her liege. The moment Barad's hand wraps around the hilt, a golden system window violently flashes before his eyes. It is an exclusive legendary weapon, and the stats are ridiculously overpowered. We are talking a jaw-dropping 343% buff to fire resistance, plus a massive 194% boost in pure attack power, stacked with lethal ice attributes and a monstrous damage multiplier against flame-type enemies. And to top it all off, it comes equipped with a completely broken active skill. Unleash its true power, our hero shouts, hyping up the king. Sword King Barad tightens his grip on the legendary blade, Frost Flower. Instantly, absolute zero energy erupts from the steel. He activates the Frost Flower ultimate. A massive glacial wave violently crashes across the battlefield, instantly flash-freezing Ifrit's blazing attacks. The demonic beast screeches in pure agony as the biting cold aggressively chokes out his inferno. Declaring the raid officially over, the king charges forward. His frosted greatsword violently collides with Ifrit's molten armor, completely shattering the beast's fiery aura like fragile glass. The demon staggers back, completely stunned. Without hesitation, Barad executes a devastating finishing strike, erasing the monster from existence. A glowing blue system window pops up, confirming the boss raid is a success. Sword King Barad finally lowers his weapon to catch his breath, but the nightmare isn't over. Ifrit's massive corpse suddenly starts glowing with a blinding, unstable light. Hyunsu stares in sheer confusion. Bella's eyes widen in absolute horror. She recognizes the ultimate white mechanic, a boss monster's self-destruct. The blast wave instantly begins tearing the dungeon totally apart. Realizing the king is caught dead center in the blast radius, Bella violently screams for him to run, but the Sword King sharply orders her to fall back. Staring deeply into a worn locket holding his late son's portrait, Barad makes a heartbreaking choice. He is ready to die right here. Bella desperately wants to drag His Majesty out, but she literally cannot defy a royal command. She stands completely paralyzed by the order. That is when our main character completely steps up. Casting a heavy fire-resistant barrier over himself, he marches straight into the roaring inferno. The king urgently commands the boy to turn back, but Hyunsu completely ignores the warning. He stubbornly declares that he came here to extract the king, and he absolutely refuses to leave empty-handed. Staring through the flames, our hero bluntly asks, "Are you throwing your life away because of the boy in that locket?" Barad solemnly nods, confessing that his own tragic failure cost his son everything. Completely shattered by guilt, the king asks how he can possibly keep living. Our boy doesn't hesitate to drop some heavy reality. He admits that while he will never fully understand a parent's exact grief, he knows the absolute terror of almost losing his own father, a man who is currently trapped in a deep coma. Hyunsu opens up about his darkest days, begging the universe just to wake his dad up. But now, he is simply overwhelmingly grateful that the man is still breathing. Looking dead into the king's eyes, he promises that Barad's son absolutely feels the exact same way. Hyunsu pulls the broken warrior into a tight embrace, begging him to finally let his boy rest in peace. In that split second, a beautiful illusion of his smiling son flashes before the king's eyes. Tears falling, Barad whispers an apology, finally letting go of his massive guilt. Hyunsu softly tells him he has to survive, demanding to know if he shouldn't fight to become a father his ghost could look up to. Hearing those words, King Barad completely snaps back to reality. He realizes he cannot die as a pathetic, broken man. Flashing a grateful smile, he yells for Hyunsu to move. Together, they absolutely sprint out of the collapsing inferno. Bella frantically rushes over, begging to know if His Majesty survived. Hyunsu promises her the king is completely safe, adding that he will be back soon. But right at that exact moment, a massive red system alert flashes. Hyunsu's health points have totally bottomed out at 0. A forced server logout is officially initiating. Our hero flashes Bella one last reassuring smile, reminding her that players literally cannot die here. Then, his body shatters into countless glowing blue pixels. Bella watches in pure shock as the massive Sword King completely collapses into her arms. Barely conscious, Barad mutters that the crazy kid actually saved him. Bella screams for the medics as His Majesty completely blacks out. Back in the harsh reality of the real world, Hyunsu slowly opens his eyes with a gentle, peaceful smile. A cruel system notification immediately pops up. Because of the forced death penalty, his player level has officially dropped by 1. Our boy silently stares at his heavily bandaged hands. With fresh tears streaming down his face, he makes a fierce vow to his unconscious dad, swearing that he will absolutely never stop grinding forward. Meanwhile, trapped deep inside a magical coma, Sword King Barad suddenly opens his eyes. He is standing face to face with Ban, the son he tragically lost to the underworld. They are totally alone in a breathtaking, endless emerald meadow. Out of nowhere, that sweet, familiar voice yells out, "Father!" It is the one single sound Barad has been literally dying to hear. The crushing darkness in Barad's soul instantly evaporates. He stands frozen in pure golden light as his beautiful boy sprints right toward him, beaming from ear to ear. Taking a hesitant, trembling step forward, Barad chokes on his own words, desperately asking if this is real. Ban gently grabs his father's rough hands, confirming he is truly there. But then he drops a heartbreaking bombshell. He only came to say one final goodbye. Hearing that, Barad's entire world shatters all over again. He aggressively shakes his head, completely refusing to accept it. He grips his boy's hands like a total lifeline, absolutely terrified of losing him twice. Voice completely cracking. The desperate king asks what this final farewell actually means. Ban just gives him a warm, knowing look, repeating the exact same words Hyun-soo spoke in the fire. The boy gently begs his dad to finally find true happiness. He pleads with him to drop the massive guilt and start actually living again. As those beautiful words leave his lips, Ban's delicate body literally begins dissolving into floating golden embers. Barad violently screams his son's name in pure agony, but he is totally powerless to stop the magical fading. With a massive gasp for air, the king abruptly, violently jolts awake in his bed, cold sweat dripping down his face, still screaming for Ban. His two elite royal guards, who had been flawlessly watching over his coma for 3 straight days, totally jump out of their skin. They scramble to his bedside, absolutely panicking over his vitals. Slowly catching his breath, Barad forces himself to calm down. In a deeply grave tone, he reveals that his son just crossed over in a dream to finally pass on. He fiercely declares that this emotional miracle is entirely thanks to that brave kid. Without skipping a beat, he barks a royal order to track Hyun-soo down immediately. A few days later, inside a stunning, sun-drenched throne room, a royal knight officially announces Hyun-soo's arrival. Our confident protagonist smoothly strides in, drops a flawless bow, and politely asks how His Majesty is holding up. Barad flashes a surprisingly warm smile, assuring the boy he feels absolutely phenomenal, and waves for him to take a seat. The king's tone suddenly shifts, revealing he called this meeting for a very specific reason. Getting intensely serious, the royal warrior admits he knows the truth about players. He completely understands that outsiders like Hyun-soo literally cannot permanently die, always perfectly respawning at a crystal. But then he drops a heavy truth bomb. Immortality doesn't just magically erase the absolute terror of the Reaper. Getting your health points ripped to 0 still hurts like absolute hell. Locking his piercing eyes dead onto our boy, the king asks the ultimate question: why did you willingly burn alive just to save my life? Taking a deep breath, Hyun-soo prepares to drop his honest answer. Looking directly into the eyes of the sovereign, our guy explains that he saw a mirror of his own crushing burdens. He genuinely wanted Barad to choose life over despair. Those heavy words strike a deep chord. The monarch quietly repeats, "A burden like me," before curiously asking for the second reason. Scratching the back of his neck with a sheepish grin, our main character drops the wholesome act. He totally banked on a massive payout for saving royal blood. That absolute audacity actually makes Barad smirk. He praises our boy, noting that such a shameless answer takes serious guts. The sovereign leans in and declares that the incoming compensation is going to blow his wildest expectations right out of the water. With a grand wave of his hand, Barad presents Hyun-soo with a tightly sealed scroll, calling it the rightful payment for crafting such a masterpiece of a blade. The second our hero breaks the seal, that iconic blue system window violently flashes before his eyes. Boom! 1 million gold has just hit his inventory. His brain completely short-circuits. In the real world, that translates to a staggering 1.7 billion won. His entire history of poverty just vanished into thin air. Brushing off the shock, the monarch insists that saving his life makes every single coin absolutely deserved. Overwhelmed with immense gratitude, Hyun-soo offers a deep, respectful bow. Gesturing for him to take a seat, the tone of Barad softens into genuine fatherly warmth. He makes a solemn vow to start living his life to the absolute fullest. He wants 0 regrets when he eventually reunites with Ban in the afterlife. With a gentle gaze, he urges Hyun-soo to channel that same fierce energy for his own dad. The royal doors are permanently open for our boy, and Hyun-soo excitedly accepts the standing invitation to crash the palace whenever. Smiling brightly, Barad confesses that this encounter reignited his will to fight, asking if they can officially be called close friends. Right on cue, another holographic alert chimes. Ding! The affinity level with King Barad has officially maxed out, permanently unlocking the legendary blessing of a friend. Our guy is fully aware that he just casually befriended an absolute myth. Gripping the hand of the sovereign tightly, he pours his heart out about how much this epic bond means to him. But to cement this brotherhood, Barad drops an absolute nuke of a revelation. He plans to personally pass down the sacred swordsmanship of his royal bloodline. Knight Commander Benson practically loses his mind on the spot. He frantically questions how his liege could hand over such heaven-defying martial arts to a complete outsider. The panicked commander quickly reminds him that Lord, the undisputed top ranker of the server, is already locked in as the official successor, and actively grinding those very skills. He fiercely argues that such an overpowered technique demands absolute worthiness. Unfazed, the monarch coldly states that he is not just handing out charity to random peasants. He is passing the torch to a warrior who actually earned it. Suddenly, an epic tier skill quest titled Sword King Swordsmanship flashes directly into the face of Hyun-soo, featuring surprisingly simple, clear conditions. To prove his right to the throne, our guy just needs to score 3 clean, valid hits against the incredibly sweaty Knight Commander Benson. The grand prize? The utterly broken, legendary tier Sword King Swordsmanship. Stepping back, Barad declares that Benson himself will serve as the ultimate crash test dummy. He grants our protagonist exactly 2 days to gear up. Ripping off his virtual reality headset in the real world, Hyun-soo instantly drops a massive chunk of his newfound fortune to aggressively wipe out every single medical debt his dad owes. A suffocating weight finally lifts from his chest. Without looking back, our boy ditches his miserable, cramped apartment and immediately upgrades to a seriously premium crib. He even hits up his former landlady, pouring out his gratitude for her past patience while flooding her bank account with a ridiculously generous bonus. With his real life finally stabilized, our main character dials up his ride-or-die bro, Kim Ji-han, to drag him out for a legendary victory dinner. Fully expecting another sad bowl of convenience store ramen, the jaw of Ji-han practically hits the pavement when he pulls up to a 5-star, ultra-luxury steakhouse. Ji-han nervously jokes that after stuffing his face with such high-tier wagyu, he is officially ready to ascend to the afterlife. Hyun-soo just flashes a knowing smirk. Getting real for a second, he tells his boy that this mega feast is just a tiny payback for holding him down during his darkest days. Mid-bite, he casually slides a sleek designer shopping bag across the table, revealing the exact pair of insanely expensive Hermes sneakers Ji-han has been drooling over for years. Utterly shook, his buddy stammers, asking if he robbed a central bank. Waving off the shock, our boy calls it a basic starter gift, casually dropping the fact that he already wired the entire cost of the gaming capsule back into the checking account of Ji-han. Practically in tears, Ji-han aggressively hugs the designer shoebox like it is a newborn baby. Watching his bro freak out, our protagonist finally absorbs the reality that his trash-tier destiny is actively rewriting itself. Seeing his buddy about to turn into a crying mess, Hyun-soo playfully tells him to shut his trap and start chewing before the premium meat loses its buff stats. Fast forward 2 days, and the atmosphere inside the royal training hall is thick with killing intent. Staring him down, Commander Benson barks at the challenger to unsheath his weapon. The knight makes it crystal clear that he is not holding back a single ounce of power. But instead of playing by the rules, our protagonist decides to execute an absolute pro-gamer move. Rather than whipping out a massive, glowing greatsword, he literally reaches into his inventory and pulls out a raw, unrefined chunk of iron ore. With a deadpan expression, he welcomes the impending violence. The brain of Benson totally misfires at the sight, but the grin of Hyun-soo only grows wider. He might not have the swordsman class unlocked yet, but he is a god-tier blacksmith, and he is dragging this fight onto his own turf. Suddenly, that ordinary lump of metal erupts into a blinding, divine light. Searing thermal waves blast across the arena, leaving the commander and his elite squad completely paralyzed by the hellish heat radiating from the bare hands of our hero. As the blinding aura finally fizzles out, the smoke clears to reveal his creation. A brutally plain, embarrassingly basic-looking sword is casually resting in his grip. Internally sweating just a second ago, Benson lets out a massive sigh of disappointment. He was bracing for a mythical artifact, but this kid just crafted a glorified metal baseball bat. Launching his massive frame forward, the commander violently closes the distance. He ruthlessly roars, demanding to know if this rookie seriously plans to pierce royal armor with a literal scrap of trash. But the very millisecond their weapons collide, a terrifying chill shoots straight down the spine of the veteran knight. Something is horribly, completely wrong. The durability stat on the sword of Hyun-soo is intentionally sitting at 0. Upon the brutal impact, the entire fragile blade instantly detonates into a devastating, point-blank frag grenade. Hundreds of jagged, superheated metal fragments violently shred through the air. Like perfectly calculated shrapnel, they seamlessly bypass the heavy defenses and completely infiltrate the tiny gaps in the armor of Benson. Bam, bam, bam. Dozens of microstrikes ruthlessly bombard his physical body all at once. The mighty commander shrieks in absolute terror and stinging agony as the explosive trap perfectly registers a massive flurry of valid hits. Miraculously, the commander dodges any lethal damage, but the terrifying message lands perfectly. With ice-cold composure, Hyun-soo breaks down his genius loophole. The quest never demanded an outright victory, only valid strikes. Suddenly, a flood of system notifications floods the screen, validating a mind-blowing 59 consecutive hits in just 1 split second. Our boy casually smirks, noting the rulebook never banned his shattered blade strategy. Completely shaken, Benson traces the endless scorch marks across his heavy plate. He openly confesses he never saw such a beautifully toxic strategy coming. Dropping his ego, he calls Hyunsu his lord and begs for his real identity. Cue the ultimate mic drop. Our main character confidently declares himself the absolute god of blacksmiths. The sheer weight of that title shatters the room. Benson and the elite knights instantly drop to their knees, treating him like absolute royalty. Sweating from the intense glazing, Hyunsu frantically waves for them to stand back up. Cut to a brutal 2-week training arc, grinding relentlessly under Benson and the mighty King Barad. Pushed to his absolute limits, he finally unlocks the legendary Sword King's combat mastery. On top of that, his blade mastery stats completely skyrocket. Thanks to his ridiculously low base level, he absorbs the massive experience points like a sponge. But there is a massive catch. He only manages to conquer the first 3 secret chapters: the Beast's Aura, the Raging Wave Sword, and the Piercing Sword's Cry. The king smiles, promising to unlock the final secrets once our guy actually levels up. Fast forward to the end of the hellish boot camp. Hyunsu pulls King Barad aside. Having proven his worth, it is time to cash in a major favor. He demands the legendary 100-year-old cold iron. Yes, the exact same mythical ore used to forge the monarch's very own blade. The king strokes his beard before dropping a massive reality check. He would hand it over in a heartbeat, except his personal weapon completely drained the royal treasury's final stash. Crushing defeat washes over our protagonist. His epic crafting blueprint is totally bricked, but catching his despair, the ruler flashes a knowing grin. A secret stash still exists buried deep inside the original source, the incredibly lethal frost mine. Barad challenges Hyunsu to mine the ultimate ore himself. Our hero sweats, seriously doubting if he has the stats to solo such a nightmare zone. But the king plays his trump card, ordering his fiercest knight, Bella, to join the raiding party. Bella instantly pushes back. Her sole purpose is guarding the throne, not babysitting a blacksmith. However, Barad promises this death-defying quest will push her past her own limits. Bowing to his absolute authority, she reluctantly packs her gear for the journey. Meanwhile, the king steps onto the grand balcony, proudly broadcasting his triumph over the impossible Ifrit tomb. Thousands of awestruck players and nobles roar in worship. The server chat goes totally nuclear, crowning Sword King Barad an absolute gaming god. But a few eagle-eyed veterans go full Sherlock mode. Zooming in on the majestic blade resting at his hip, they notice its chilling, god-tier frost aura. Spamming their evaluation skills, a single name pops up in the item description: Hyunsu, carved flawlessly into the legendary steel. The entire community completely loses their minds. Wait, isn't that the exact same tag from the tournament champion's mythical arrow? The forums instantly explode with wild theories about this mystery crafter. The hype train derails into total chaos. Nobody knows his level, his age, or even his gender. Soon, the most unhinged rumor goes viral. They are convinced Hyunsu is a sweaty, middle-aged neckbeard, endlessly grinding away in some dark basement forge. Cut back to reality, where our guy casually scrolls through his phone. Riding the king's massive clout wave, his channel's subscriber count just blasted straight past the 300,000 milestone. He laughs to himself. If the server found out the player versus player god and the legendary smith were the exact same dude, the entire game client would crash. To protect his peace, he chooses to stay happily off the radar. Right before stepping into the icy abyss, he fires off a quick direct message, reaching out to a very important person he desperately needed to repay. Scene shift to a luxury high-rise, where billionaire investor Kang Hak-soo steeples his fingers. He is obsessing over the world-first clear of the Ifrit tomb. In his eyes, that hellish raid was supposed to be mathematically impossible. Flashbacks hit him hard, remembering his own tragic wipes, watching his billion gold armor melt away like cheap plastic. He grits his teeth in frustration. All the real-world cash means nothing without the god-tier gear to conquer the game. Suddenly, a golden ping interrupts his dark thoughts. It is Hyunsu, officially cashing in his promise to forge the ultimate armor set. Kang's eyes widen with pure manic joy. He instantly realizes his personal cheat code has finally arrived. He freezes for a split second, scrambling to remember the exact deal. And then, the memories perfectly lock into place, flashing back to their secret boardroom deal over a mythical artifact. Typing at light speed, the tycoon confirms he is locked and loaded to pay up. He double-checks the ridiculous item requirements, eager to finalize the massive commission right this second. But deep in his greedy heart, Kang seriously doubts if this kid actually has the raw stats to pull it off. Hyunsu confirms the crazy blueprints are totally locked in. Testing the waters, the rich whale casually asks for our hero's current player level. Our main character casually replies he is sitting at level 59. The billionaire's smile instantly vanishes. For a top-tier crafter, Those are absolute trash tier numbers. Kang Haksa fires off a polite sign-off, wishing Hyunsoo the absolute best of luck. Leaning back into his plush office chair, a heavy, exhausted sigh escapes his lips. Sure, the kid's current level is complete garbage, but Kang sees the raw, undeniable potential burning underneath. He's a diamond in the rough, making him a highly solid investment for the future. Right at that exact moment, a flashy headline grabs his attention. The gaming forums are blowing up, praising a legendary, unnamed blacksmith, known only as Hyunsoo. The article drops a massive bombshell. This mystery craftsman was the secret weapon behind King Barad's epic victory over Ifrit, the king's god-tier blade, forged entirely by his very hands. Kang actually considers sliding into this crafting god's direct messages for a custom commission. But reality hits him like a freight train, and he instantly scraps the foolish idea. A megastar who leaves top-tier rankers on read? Yeah? He wouldn't even look twice at a mid-tier casual player like him. Still, a bitter wave of frustration washes over his face, especially with the brutal timer on his class advancement quest ruthlessly ticking down to 0. Swallowing his pride, Kang decides to ride it out with his current rookie connection, completely clueless to the absolute irony of the situation. The low-level beginner and the god-tier blacksmith, they are the exact same guy. Cut back to our main character, Hyunsoo. He and Bella finally touch down at the legendary frost mine, and his jaw instantly hits the frozen floor. An endless domain of pure, sparkling ice stretches before them, practically blinding him with its frozen majesty. Suddenly, the iconic system chime rings out. A holographic window declares him the very first player to step foot in this dangerous zone. The grand reward? A massive double experience points buff lasting an entire week. A wicked smirk spreads across Hyunsoo's face. Securing that pioneer bonus is an absolute, massive victory. He turns to Bella, asking if she's ever explored these frozen depths. The vice captain keeps her gaze locked forward, stating it's her first time as well. But her aura? It's literally as freezing as the cavern itself. Our protagonist can physically feel the giant, invisible ice wall she's put up between them. But before he can break the ice, a sharp voice echoes out. A rugged young dude gripping a heavy pickaxe suddenly blocks their path. He barks at them, aggressively, demanding to know how they bypass the entrance. This territory is strictly off-limits to outsiders. Bella doesn't even flinch. She steps right up, radiating total boss energy. She loudly announces her title as Vice Captain of the Royal Knights, smoothly flashing the glowing royal seal. The young miner's tough guy act shatters instantly. His eyes go wide with absolute panic. Stuttering, he bows deeply and introduces himself as Banya, a humble local miner. Hyunsoo keeps it totally low-key, casually dropping that he's just a traveling blacksmith. Banya lets out a nervous laugh, admitting it's actually refreshing to see fresh faces in this desolate wasteland. But he quickly lays down the hard truth. Absolutely nobody steps foot into the main excavation zone, not without explicit, direct permission from his old man. Hyunsoo clicks his tongue, dreading a massive waste of time. But then, a friendly, unexpected grin breaks across Banya's face. He completely volunteers to escort them directly to his father, the chief of the miners. As they trek deeper into the frozen abyss, something colossal catches our hero's eye. A terrifying, crystal-plated monstrosity, sealed tight behind a shimmering magical barrier. Banya starts dropping some heavy lore. This entire cavern used to be a wildly chaotic dungeon, crawling with lethal beasts. That is, until a ridiculously overpowered wizard locked them all behind that force field 10 years ago. Staring down the towering beast, a greedy glint flashes in Hyunsoo's eyes. He points straight at the jagged spikes erupting from its scales. Could those crystals actually be the legendary, 1,000-year-old cold iron? Banya nods gravely, confirming the absolute jackpot. But he immediately shoots down any crazy ideas, warning the blacksmith to check his greed. Getting even a millimeter too close to that barrier is a guaranteed game over. Inside that glowing dome, pure nightmare fuel still roams unchecked. The barrier lets people walk in, but absolutely no one walks out alive. Every miner knows the ultimate, god-tier loot is sitting right inside there, but they'd rather keep their heads attached to their necks, sticking to the safe zones outside. Finally, they reach the end of the tunnel. Banya gestures toward a grizzled veteran. It's Captain Rek. Banya gives his dad the quick rundown on their royal guests before respectfully dipping out. Hyunsoo steps up to the rugged chief and immediately spots the insane level hovering overhead. Level 231. Rek narrows his sharp eyes, heavily sizing up this wildly mismatched duo of an elite royal knight and a scruffy crafter. He crosses his massive arms, bluntly demanding to know their true business. Our boy doesn't beat around the bush. He announces he's hunting for materials that make 100-year-old cold iron look like cheap scrap metal. The chief literally flinches, completely caught off guard by the sheer audacity. Oh, Rek knows exactly what he's talking about. The mythical 1,000-year-old cold iron. but there is zero chance he's handing over top-secret intel to a total random stranger. Desperate to protect the fragile piece of his sanctuary, the veteran decides to test the kid. He squints, asking if Hyun-soo has ever swung a mining pickaxe in his life. Our hero confidently shakes his head no. Rek completely scoffs. He drops some harsh, unfiltered reality. A seasoned miner is lucky to pry 3 decent ores out of these frozen walls in a single day. Then, he lays down an impossible wager. Pull exactly 40 ores from this unforgiving ice in just 1 week. Do that, and he'll spill everything about the legendary material. Boom! A golden holographic quest window violently shatters the air. Hidden quest triggered. The test of the mine captain. Objective: extract 40 ores in exactly 7 days. The brutal penalty for failure? Getting permanently locked out of the cold iron lore forever. Rek smirks, asking if the rookie has the guts to accept. Hyun-soo's eyes ignite with absolute competitive fire. He clenches his fists and instantly raises the stakes. He stares the veteran down, demanding to know the reward if he completely shatters that 40-ore quota. Rek busts out laughing, loudly dismissing it as a total, delusional pipe dream. But the captain takes the bait. He swears on his honor. If this cocky kid actually pulls off a miracle, Rek will personally dive into the danger zone and harvest the legendary ore for him. But he sets one absolute condition: absolutely zero outside help from his companion. This is a pure, unassisted solo mission. Hyun-soo smashes the accept button without a second thought, fiercely determined to destroy this old man's expectations within the week. As our duo marches off to the excavation site, Rek catches his son lurking in the shadows. The grumpy captain ruthlessly drags a whining Banya away by the ear for blatantly eavesdropping. Walking down the frozen corridor, Bella shoots Hyun-soo a highly skeptical glare. Why on earth would he actively provoke a level 200 veteran? In response, our hero just flashes a knowing smirk and reaches out his hand. He confidently declares that he never walks into a challenge unequipped. Flash! A ridiculously high-tier, glowing magical mining axe materializes into his grasp. Gripping the heavily enchanted handle, absolute madness swirls in his sparkling eyes. Watching this maniac obsess over a farming tool, Bella internally sighs. His Majesty has seriously allied himself with an absolute lunatic oddball. Fast forward exactly 7 days later, Captain Rek sits completely alone. He's utterly convinced the arrogant rookie either rage quit or froze to death. To a total novice, that quota was a guaranteed absolute failure. But suddenly, heavy footsteps aggressively echo from the black depths of the tunnel. A lone shadow breaches the light. Rek's jaw completely drops. It's Hyun-soo, dragging his feet, absolutely caked from head to toe, in thick black soot and grime. Recovering his shock, the captain throws a sarcastic sneer. He openly mocks the kid, joking that he finally looks like a proper dirt digger. But playtime is officially over. The timer has hit 0, and Rek strictly demands to see the ultimate receipts. Catching his breath, Hyun-soo holds up a single finger, asking for just a second. Rek chuckles internally, absolutely positive this whole challenge was a pathetic bust. But then, our hero violently flicks his wrist, extending his hand. Boom! An absolute, massive mountain of premium ores crashes onto the cavern floor. The deafening clatter echoes through the mine, leaving the veteran captain completely paralyzed and staggering backward. Rek just stares at this massive, glowing mountain of loot, totally dumbfounded, while wiping the grime off his face. Meanwhile, Hyun-soo casually drops the bomb that he farmed a whopping 200 pieces in total. Tripping over his own feet in pure shock, the captain practically begs to know our boy's true identity, dead certain he is looking at some mythical, undercover mining god. Our main character just flashes a cocky smirk, effortlessly spinning his radiant axe. He flexes that he is literally just your friendly neighborhood blacksmith, right as a glowing system window bursts into view, flashing those juicy weapon stats. We are talking about a unique tier Damascus blade that moonlights as an axe, rocking an insane durability of 12,000 points and a base attack of 332. But here's the kicker. It packs a busted passive skill that buffs stone-cutting damage by a ridiculous 170%, all while tanking durability decay by 70%. This masterpiece is not just some random drop. Our guy literally custom-forged this bad boy just to break rocks, engineering a slick, transforming mechanism that shifts it straight into an axe form whenever he needs to go hard. Taking in that absurd stash of glittering ore, Captain Rek finally connects the dots. Hyun-soo crushed this impossible trial with his own absolute boss energy, not by digging like a grunt, but by crafting like an absolute legend. Swallowing his pride, Rek hits him with a formal apology for doubting his skills, and instantly offers to treat him to a massive feast. Smiling like he just won the lottery, Hyun-soo totally accepts the invite, smoothly asking if the Ice Queen Lady Bella can tag along. Rek gives it a hard yes without a second thought. Cut to a rowdy, packed tavern where Bella is just chugging her drink like there is no tomorrow. Vanya and our hero are practically sweating, begging her to pace herself, but the vice captain stubbornly claims she is just vibing. Suddenly, a massive, muscle-bound miner shoves into Hyun-soo, getting all up in his face to see if the rumors of him solo mining 200 ores are actually legit. Our boy just chuckles and drops a solid yes, causing the entire tavern of miners to instantly mob him, desperate for the inside scoop on that legendary meteorite stash. Hyun-soo casually flexes that he somehow managed to rip out around 20 chunks of that ultra-rare material too. The whole room goes dead silent in absolute awe. Then, one guy brings up the crazy whispers about a mythical axe, begging for a sneak peek. Being the showman he is, Hyun-soo instantly summons his Damascus gear, flashing into his grip with a blinding, cinematic burst of light. He breaks down the specs, explaining how this beast was forged from scratch for one single purpose: absolute mining domination, skyrocketing his grinding efficiency by over 200%. Seamlessly snapping it right back into its lethal sword form, he hypes up how this mode cranks his stone, shattering power to the absolute max. While Hyun-soo totally geeks out over his own masterpiece, Bella just watches him, low-key entertained. She smiles to herself, realizing that once a blacksmith, always a blacksmith. This dude straight up adores his cold, hard steel, way more than actual human beings. Absolutely hyped by his insane carry, the veteran miners start yelling that if a total newbie can pull off these god-tier strats, they need to seriously level up their own hustle. The squad rallies around him, popping off and officially initiating him into their rugged brotherhood. Fast forward, Rek guides Hyun-soo and Bella down into a creepy, uncharted abyss deep inside the caverns. The captain drops a massive lore bomb. This cursed spot is where the mythical millennial meteorite ore is actually sealed away. Hyun-soo squints at the shimmering, ancient magic barrier, totally lost. He calls out the captain, pointing out that everyone swore breaching this zone was literally impossible. Rek just gives a grim nod, confirming the jackpot is locked up tight inside that very seal. When our main character questions how on earth they are supposed to mine a lockdown VIP zone, Rek hits him with the ultimate boss move, saying it is entirely his problem to figure out. With that mic drop, the captain dips out to inspect a neighboring tunnel, telling the duo to catch up with him whenever they finish scratching their heads. The second the captain walks away, a blinding system alert crashes his vision, flashing the title, "A New Story Begins." Heart-pounding, Hyun-soo skims the ominous text, discovering a full century has passed since the great mage Phelan slapped down this very barrier, and now, the ancient magic is straight up decaying. The system warning is absolute nightmare fuel. The grotesque beasts locked inside have gone utterly feral, and this whole magical vault is going to shatter into pieces in exactly 3 minutes. Panic mode engaged, our hero screams out to Rek, desperately ordering him to freeze. Hyun-soo roars that the ancient seal is collapsing, and the whole crew needs to evacuate immediately. Rek just laughs it off, totally convinced the rookie is trolling him. But out of nowhere, the entire underground world violently convulses. The trio watches in pure, unfiltered horror as massive, jagged fissures rip across the cave roof. Boulders the size of cars come crashing down, and the entire tunnel system starts caving in on them. Finally waking up to the deadly reality, Rek goes full commander, screaming at the top of his lungs for an instant fallback. Terrified cries for backup tear through the suffocating clouds of dust. But these hardcore miners flat out refuse to run, way too loyal to ever abandon their brothers in the dark. Gripping his heavy axe, Rek rallies the remaining muscle to dive back into the rubble and save their squad. Trapped in this absolute meat grinder, Hyun-soo frantically calculates his next play. Out of nowhere, a bloody red quest window drops. It is an exclusive, hidden S-rank mission, handed straight to him for triggering this catastrophic event. The failure penalty is sickening, a total wipeout of the mining crew. His one and only objective is to desperately pull 96 trapped souls from the jaws of death, with his final payout scaling off the survivor headcount. Gnashing his teeth in pure fury, our protagonist is absolutely disgusted by how the cruel system treats these living, breathing people like disposable data. To him, this brotherhood is as real as it gets. Eyes burning with resolve, Hyun-soo rips his sword from his inventory and barks at Lady Bella to watch his six, in case a stray beast slips past his aggro. Caught totally off guard, Bella asks how he is not paralyzed by the sheer terror of this bloodbath. Our main character just flashes a fearless, cinematic grin, reminding her that players like him literally cannot die. Then, he drops his insane master plan. He is going to solo barricade the dungeon entrance, playing the ultimate tank to block every single monster from spilling into the upper floors. Squaring up against the shattering seal, Hyun-soo locks eyes with an ocean of raging, stone-skinned abominations. Reality hits hard. His trusty Damascus blade simply does not have the raw DPS to cleave through this massive mob. Refusing to fold, he makes a totally unhinged call. He is going to live forge an entirely new, overpowered weapon, right on the battlefield. to freeze this monstrous wave dead in its tracks. Popping his emergency god-tier crafting skill, he dumps an insane pool of mana and a massive horde of raw ore, forging a devastating greatsword of cold iron right at the exact millisecond the doom timer hits 0. The protective barrier finally shatters into a million glowing pieces. Bring it on! Hyunsu roars, planting his feet as the nightmare pours in. A level 113 stone troll, a level 107 stone orc, and a level 110 stone wolf barrel straight for his throat. He knows his freshly forged blade is a one-hit wonder, but with that sweet defense-piercing buff glowing active, our boy isn't backing down an inch. He makes a silent vow. Nobody gets past this line while he's still breathing. Gripping the colossal greatsword, Hyunsu explodes forward like a human missile. He instantly triggers his Froststorm skill. An absolute blizzard of raw kinetic energy erupts across the cavern. The freezing tempest locks the front line in solid ice, snatching a leaping stone wolf right out of the air, as brutal glacial spikes shred through its rocky armor, deleting the beast on the spot. But the cost of that god-tier attack is steep. His cold iron greatsword violently disintegrates into dust. Our main character just blinks at the useless hilt left in his grip, totally stunned. Sure, it was basically a suicide weapon, but a crazy thought hits him. Give him the right crafting materials, and this disposable nuke could literally change the game. But daydreaming will have to wait. The gate is still vomiting out endless waves of stone freaks, though his eyes dart toward the civilian sector. Deep within the suffocating darkness of the caved-in tunnels, exhausted miners are tearing at the rubble with bare hands to save their crew. Desperate shouts bounce off the dusty walls. They're screaming at each other to push harder, refusing to let their bleeding friends die in the dark. Agonizing cries for help cut through the chaos. But these guys aren't leaving a single soul behind. Their loyalty is absolutely unbreakable. One guy yells into the crevices, begging his trapped brothers to just hang on for a few more minutes. Right on cue, a blue system window chimes in. It drops a heavy condition. The final payout scales directly with the survivor count, basically daring Hyunsu to play savior. Watching these guys wreck themselves to save their squad, he grips his empty fist until his knuckles turn white. These aren't just random system characters attached to a quest log anymore. They're looking way too familiar. It hits him right in the feels, because it is exactly like when he threw his own life on the line for his dad. These people are literally bleeding for their families, just like he did back then. His eyes ignite with a terrifying new resolve as he squares up against the monster-infested choke point. He is bringing everyone home alive, period. But throwing down near the civilians is a fast track to casualties, so he needs to pull massive aggro. He dashes into a totally different corridor, screaming at the top of his lungs to bait the mob, and the system eats it up. A massive squad of rock-solid orcs and wolves peel off to hunt him down. Dragging them deep into the dead zone, our boy finally spins around to welcome the slaughter. The Damascus blade sings as he unsheathes it, instantly diving into the meat grinder. He dances through their lethal strikes like a ghost, carving perfect critical hits before slipping past a colossal stone hammer that absolutely craters the floor inches from his toes. With a beautifully synchronized combo, Hyunsu executes both a wolf and an orc in a single, fluid heartbeat. But another hulking brute winds up for a home run swing, and our main character literally cleaves its massive weapon cleanly in two, following up with a brutal finisher that drops the giant. Suddenly swarmed by a fresh wave of nightmares, he doesn't panic, he just flashes a savage grin. Playtime is officially over. Channeling every brutal lesson drilled into him by the Sword King, he ignites his raging wave sword skill and launches himself into the absolute chaos. What follows is a mesmerizing hurricane of steel. His slashes manifest blinding azure shockwaves that literally shred the stone monsters into gravel. The horde is getting deleted, left and right. Mid-carnage, a notification flashes. The skill is stacking 10% bonus damage, skyrocketing to a nasty 140% on critical weak spots. He takes a split-second breather, mind absolutely blown. This technique isn't just strong, it is straight-up game-breaking. Pulverizing the final enemy into dust, Hyunsu completely crashes, gasping for air in a sea of shattered stone. As his heart rate settles, the system goes crazy with alerts. The first pop-up proudly declares the mine dungeon completely cleared, while a golden prompt confirms the hidden quest is a wrap, locking in the final count. All 96 miners pulled out alive. He didn't just pass, he absolutely aced it. A tired but genuine smirk tugs at his mouth. The heavy weight of worry lifts off his shoulders, knowing the crew survived. But then, a super shady system notification forces him to double-take. It literally suggests that if he manipulates the narrative right now, he can squeeze a massive payout out of the mine captain. Our boy stares at the glowing text, totally bewildered by the system telling him to be a low-key scammer. He drags himself up, leaning heavily on his blade. Sure, Hyunsu genuinely feels that saving lives is the real win here, but let's be real, nobody walks away from free loot. A dangerously mischievous spark flashes in his eyes. The gears are spinning, and a wild plan is cooking. Meanwhile, outside the nightmare zone, Rek yanks a bleeding buddy from the debris. Facing his battered crew, he chokes back tears and roars that the nightmare is over. They all made it. An overwhelming wave of pure, unadulterated relief washes over the exhausted miners, as grown men literally sob and hug, convinced they had just cheated death. But while the camp is popping off, Bella frantically pushes through the crowd, desperately scanning for Hyunsoo. When she comes up empty, she pulls Rek aside with a heart-dropping update. It looks like Mr. Hyunsoo intentionally baited the horde and marched straight into hell by himself. Rek's eyes go wide with absolute shock. He whispers the name, Blacksmith Hyunsoo, as the colossal weight of that sacrifice finally crashes down on him. Without hesitating, Rek bellows for the entire camp's attention. He drops the bombshell. The crafter, Hyunsoo, solo tanked the entire monster wave just so they could escape. The whole mine goes dead silent. One guy stammers out, asking if he really just pulled a suicide mission. Suddenly realizing why their escape route was magically monster-free, Rek's knuckles turn white around his axe handle. As their captain, the guilt of letting a kid take the fall is eating him alive. He warns the group that the danger is far from over. He rallies every able-bodied miner to charge straight into the dungeon. The workers ignite with fierce resolve. Torches blazing, Rek and Bella lead the rescue squad deep into the pitch-black abyss. Their desperate shouts echo through the caverns until someone finally spots him. Hyunsoo is slumped hard against the cold stone, looking like he just went through a meat grinder. Panic sets in as the crew scrambles to his side. Rek frantically asks if he is holding on, while Banya screams in absolute terror at his battered state. Bella slides in first. She drops next to our guy to check his pulse, mentally roasting him for pulling such a reckless stunt. But wait, her eyes widen. His heartbeat is perfectly normal. He is faking this whole near-death experience. Standing up, she turns to calm the frantic crowd. She opens her mouth to expose Mr. Hyunsoo and his flawless health, but right then, he snatches her wrist. With a sly whisper, he begs her to play along, completely shutting down her attempt to ruin his act. He drops a pathetic groan and staggers to his feet. Turning on the waterworks, Hyunsoo swears he is hanging in there. He dramatically sighs that the battle was absolute hell, but he wiped the floor with every single monster. Shifting his exhausted gaze to Rek, he weakly asks if the crew made it out alive. Rek instantly grips his hands, tears streaming down his rugged face. The captain pours out his endless gratitude, drowning in guilt for leaving our boy behind in the bloodbath. Rek absolutely crushes himself with shame. He sobs that they only offered basic food and shelter, while this total stranger threw his life on the line to shield them. Hyunsoo dials up the humble hero act. He softly replies that Rek and Lady Bella welcomed him like pure blood, and after seeing their unbreakable bond, stepping back was never an option. He drops a sweet line about being overjoyed that the crew survived, then forces a dramatic cough just to seal the deal. Rek calls him a beautiful, foolish friend, swearing on his life that no one will ever forget. The ultimate sacrifice of blacksmith Hyunsoo. Off to the side, Bella is sitting there, absolutely losing her mind. She literally just checked him. He was at max health a second ago. Rek practically scoops our hero up, ordering the boys to carry their savior to safety, refusing to let him speak another word. Suddenly, a slick system window flashes before him. It declares that the mine, captain, and 95 workers have locked him in their memories forever. As Rek carefully supports his weight, our boy smirks internally. Everything is falling perfectly into place. His masterclass in milking the drama is a flawless victory. Bella squints hard at this ridiculous performance. Hyunsoo casually locks eyes with her and throws up the most shameless, sneaky thumbs up. Meanwhile, Rek is practically howling with joy, vowing to deck him out in absolute luxury. Trailing behind, Bella is boiling with rage. It finally hits her. She just got completely played by a master scammer. Cut to later, our guy stretches out in a cozy bed. He flexes, bragging about the amazing sleep he just had. Bam! Banya kicks the door wide open, screaming his idol's name. The frantic kid desperately asks if Hyunsoo is finally conscious, then literally sprints away to alert the mob. Our boy blinks in pure confusion, trying to process how long he was actually knocked out. Before he can think, the captain bursts into the room. Rek hovers over him, sweating bullets about his recovery. Our guy waves it off, insisting he is perfectly fine, and smoothly flips the question back to their safety. Rek proudly reports the crew is unharmed, but begs Hyunsoo to just chill and recover. But then, remembering the blacksmith's tight schedule, the captain freezes up. He awkwardly admits the timing sucks, but drops a massive bombshell that needs to be shared. Hyunsoo snaps to attention, totally hooked, and tells him to drop the news. Rek spins around, throwing the door wide open. The entire mining squad floods the room. Rek declares that starting today, every single swing of their pickaxes belongs to Hyunsoo. Our boy is completely blindsided. He stammers, trying to process this insane flex. The captain firmly states this is their absolute vow of gratitude. Since he put his life on the line, they are putting their skills to work. The crew roars their promise to dig up that mythical millennial cold iron he desperately needs. Mind blown, Hyun-soo asks if they are actually serious. Rek locks eyes and nods. A genuine smile breaks across Hyun-soo's face. He plays the humble card again, but accepts their massive gift with open arms. Thinking the hype train is over, he is totally caught off guard when Rek waves the crowd back to clear the floor. The captain reveals one last hidden agenda. He pushes his son forward to speak like a man. Banya looks like he is about to pass out, trembling before swallowing his fear. He steps up to Hyun-soo, instantly correcting himself to call him savior. The rookie drops a hyper-formal introduction, slams his head in a deep bow, and begs for the absolute honor to serve Hyun-soo. While Banya is planted on the floor, golden system alerts explode across our boy's vision. The screen violently announces that worker Banya is pledging eternal loyalty. Wait, it reveals the kid has the hidden potential to become a legendary tier miner. A glowing prompt practically begs him to accept this broken follower. Our main character is totally paralyzed by the shock, muttering the word follower like a broken record. Boom! The scene aggressively cuts to the game company's VIP management department. A female developer is having a total meltdown. She is crying that this massive server crisis is happening right when her boss took a vacation. She screams at her monitor that player Hyun-soo has shattered the game logic again. Staring at the data in pure horror, she cannot comprehend the glitch, because this dude does not own a guild and literally has zero territory. Collapsing onto her keyboard and gripping her hair in despair, she realizes a straight-up legendary non-player character just bonded to a solo player. She grabs her coffee, knowing she is doomed to pull another miserable all-nighter. Cutting back to the aftermath, Hyun-soo frantically tries to pull the kneeling boy to his feet. He insists he's just an ordinary guy, but Banya is stubbornly glued to the floor. The young miner looks up with absolute reverence. He witnessed the entire bloodbath, watching our protagonist swing that legendary Damascus axe like an absolute god, throwing his own life on the line. That reckless sacrifice for a bunch of strangers? It completely shattered Banya's worldview. He declares that our hero's sheer willpower commands nothing but his absolute loyalty. Tears streaming down his dirt-streaked face, he pledges his pickaxe to Hyun-soo's cause. He begs to be taken in as a humble servant, ready to strike bedrock until his hands bleed. Staring into those desperate, burning eyes, Hyun-soo feels the crushing weight of the kid's pure sincerity. Panic flashes across Banya's face as he stammers out a question. Is he too weak? Too useless? Our boy immediately shuts that self-doubt down. The problem isn't the miner's skill level at all. The bitter truth? Hyun-soo simply isn't ready to wear the crown. Without a proper guildhouse or territory, he can't protect anyone. He asks the boy to just hold on, to give him enough time to build an empire from scratch. He promises to send word the second their stronghold is ready. Hearing this, the darkness in Banya's eyes is instantly replaced by blinding hope. A gentle smile crosses our hero's face as he extends an official invitation for the future. The moment those words drop, Banya practically launches himself off the ground in pure ecstasy. Suddenly, that familiar, beautiful blue glow illuminates the cavern. The system chimes in, officially registering Banya as a loyal subordinate. Overcome with emotion, the kid tackles our protagonist into a bone-crushing hug. But wait, the system isn't done yet. A new notification unlocks the follower stat window. A massive, glowing holographic panel materializes in thin air, and the details are absolutely insane. Banya isn't just some random NPC, he's a certified epic tier follower. Sitting pretty at level 165, this kid is a hidden monster. His base mining power shatters the scale at an unbelievable 1,672, and his skill tree is completely stacked. From passive buffs like detect rare minerals to the broken tireless miner active ability, he's a walking goldmine. The system lore literally hypes him up as a child of destiny. It boldly predicts he will ascend as the undisputed greatest miner in existence, boasting limitless growth potential. He is the literal definition of the greatest of all time. A sly grin creeps onto Hyun-soo's face. He just secured a legendary asset all because he played the hero card right. Buzzing with chaotic energy, Banya practically vibrates as he asks for their next meetup date. He quickly waves his hands, promising he isn't trying to pressure the boss. Our guy casually claps him on the shoulder, swearing the reunion is just around the corner. Fired up, Banya makes a hardcore vow. He and the crew are going to grind relentlessly, hoarding a mountain of raw materials for their new master. He even begs his idol to drop the formalities and treat them like true subordinates. Our protagonist smoothly agrees. He promises to ditch the polite speech and call the kid by his name from here on out. Rek watches this whole heartwarming master-servant dynamic unfold with serious dad energy. Stepping out of the suffocating darkness of the tunnels, the surviving crew rallies around a swirling, dimensional extraction gate. Notifications flood Hyunsu's vision, dumping 45 standard iron and 51 premium cold iron straight into his inventory. But Rek steals the spotlight, strutting over to an absolute mountain of crystalline, pulsing blue rocks. The veteran miner is practically vibrating with hype. He proudly drops the legendary name, Millennial Cold Iron. Gesturing to the glowing jackpot, Rek pulls up the official system appraisal window for everyone to witness. The stats are brain-melting. This is a unique grade artifact material. Just looking at it requires a master craftsman at level 300 or above. Forging this beast is ranked at extreme difficulty, but the payoff? Absolute god-tier buffs. We are talking a massive 91% base fire resistance. It literally forces any ice ability to evolve into the unique tier, grants a wild 150% sharpness multiplier, and casually tacks on a 58% raw damage spike to all skills. Oh, and the cherry on top? Infinite durability. The lore text makes sure to rub it in, stating that this specific vein has been marinating in the Earth's core for 6 millennia. It basically turns high-end cold iron into absolute garbage by comparison. Hyunsu is literally drooling over this treasure hoard. Catching his starstruck expression, Bella leans in close. She whispers a rare compliment, noting how insanely proud he must be to pull off this impossible heist. He nervously shushes her, sweating bullets that the NPCs might hear, and realize he completely finessed them. Rek circles back, his voice thick with overwhelming gratitude. The old veteran confesses that unearthing this mythical ore was a pipe dream he thought he'd take to the grave, and he lays all the glory directly at Hyunsu's feet. Our guy soaks up the praise like a total boss. Side by side with his tsundere companion, he marches toward the shimmering exit. He tosses a final salute to the blood-stained crew. The miners desperately try to stall his departure, swearing his name will forever be legend in these caves. Right as his boots touch the portal's edge, Banya comes sprinting through the dirt, sobbing uncontrollably. Hyunsu pivots on his heel. He plays it incredibly smooth, claiming he almost forgot a parting gift. With dramatic flair, he shoves his overpowered Damascus axe right into the kid's chest. But internally, our capitalist king is scheming. He knows exactly what the system buried in that item's code. Every single time Banya swings that blade, a percentage of the loot gets magically teleported directly into Hyunsu's inventory. It is the ultimate infinite passive income glitch. Oblivious to the rental fee trap, Banya is completely paralyzed by the sheer weight of receiving his idol's signature weapon. He drops to his knees again, screaming his eternal loyalty to the heavens. For a split second, our hero actually feels a tiny twinge of guilt for exploiting such a pure soul. Meanwhile, in the background, the rest of the crew is throwing the ultimate underground rager. Stepping into the warp gate's blinding light, Hyunsu thinks back to Bella, calling him a straight-up scammer. Yeah, he loves money, but he still put his own neck on the chopping block against impossible odds, completely winning over an entire faction. Just before the teleportation kicks in, he shoots Bella a smug look. Breaking character, she mutters under her breath that his crazy stunt was, admittedly, totally badass. Completely caught off guard, he demands to know if she just complimented him. She locks eyes, fiercely confirming that yes, he actually did good. Fast forward a few days, and the camera pans to a literal hellscape known as the Salamander's Den. Flames scorch the earth around a massive, blazing dungeon entrance. Slumped outside the inferno, the heavy-hitting real estate tycoon, Kang Hoksu, looks like he's ready to rage quit life. He lets out a soul-crushing sigh, completely broken by the relentless bad luck. He has thrown millions at this raid, wiping more times than he can even remember. Grinding his teeth, the whale investor realizes a harsh truth. Not even an elite rank 11 craftsman could forge the exact fire immunity gear required to survive this nightmare boss. Just as despair takes over, a system messenger bird cuts through the smoky sky. He groans, automatically assuming it's another tragic raid failure report. The digital bird touches down right on his boot, but instead of bad news, a golden notification pops up, stating, Hyunsu dropped a care package. Kang blinks, repeating that familiar name in pure confusion. His brain instantly does the math. The kid is barely pushing level 59, so whatever is inside this box has to be low-tier garbage, right? He chuckles, appreciating the rookie's hustle, and taps the accept button. But the second that holographic unboxing animation finishes, his jaw hits the dirt. His eyes practically bulge out of his skull. Is his screen glitching out, or is this actually real? Kang Hak-soo does not even hesitate, absolutely slamming that accept button. A brilliant light flashes as the item materializes right into his grasp. It is a custom-forged shield from Hyun-soo, radiating that unmistakable glow of a unique tier artifact. Instantly, the system window pops up. The stat window rolls down, and his jaw practically hits the floor. Gripping the heavy metal, Kang instantly realizes the absolute god-tier talent our main character possesses. His eyes trace the intricate serpents carved into the face, a clear nod to Medusa. That is when it hits him. This beast is modeled straight after the Aegis, the legendary divine shield of the gods. Calling it a masterpiece feels like a massive understatement. Suddenly, a red system alert flashes above him. The quest timer is ticking down with less than 2 hours left. Kang smirks, realizing our guy is literally built different. He never fails to drop the most insane surprises. A fiery determination ignites in his eyes. With this overpowered gear equipped, he vows to completely obliterate this dungeon once and for all. He rises to his feet and marches straight toward the glowing portal, charging headfirst into the Salamander dungeon. Cut back to the royal capital. Nell flashes Hyunsoo a grateful smile. Because of his massive carry, she has finally made it to the grand reception hall of the Goyad Kingdom. But our humble king brushes off the praise, giving all the credit to Mr. Beagle for his clutch support during their journey. Shifting the vibe, Nell asks a more personal question. She wants to know how he has been holding up offline. Hyunsoo sighs, confessing that ever since he cleared the frost mine, he has been stuck at the hospital, watching over his dad. Nell's expression softens with pure empathy. She can only imagine the heavy toll that takes on him, both physically and mentally. Gently, she asks the tough question. Has there been any miracle, any sign of his dad waking up? His voice drops as he reveals that his father is still trapped in a deep coma, but there is zero chance he is ever giving up hope. Letting the heavy moment pass, Nell tactfully steers the conversation toward their upcoming guild. Hyunsoo nods, ready to get down to business. Her strategy is crystal clear. Keep the roster incredibly tight and elite for now. Their ultimate mission is simple. Turn him into the most legendary creator this server has ever seen. A literal god among blacksmiths in the entire kingdom. Nell drops some hard truths. Teaming up with high-ranking whales right out of the gate is a massive trap. It would only drag down their true potential. She hypes him up, stating that the ultimate cheat code for a new guild is creating an absolute superstar, and he is going to be that shining idol. Curious, she asks if he has scoped out any top-tier players for their founding squad. Hyunsoo instantly name-drops his day one bro, Kim Ji-han, the guy who dragged him into this chaotic game in the first place, though he awkwardly admits his friends list is looking pretty empty. Nell just laughs, promising they will build an unstoppable found family together. Suddenly, a light bulb goes off in his head. There is exactly one more player who belongs with them. Intrigued, Nell asks for the guy's gamer tag. Hyunsoo freezes. He literally has no idea. He nervously explains that the guy never bothered to drop his in-game name, but he goes by Mr. Kang in the real world. Nell raises an eyebrow. That name rings absolutely zero bells. What level is he? Hyunsoo's sweat drops, admitting he only knows the dude's real-life profession and literally nothing else. Nell is totally baffled. How can he blindly invite a total random into their elite core group? But our boy passionately defends his mysterious contact. He explains that back when he hit rock bottom, Kang completely sacrificed his own gains just to give Hyunsoo a second chance at life. That man is a literal lifesaver, and his loyalty is unquestionable. Nell's eyes narrow slightly. Does this guy run his own company? Hyunsoo nods, confirming he is a legit executive. Nell lets out a heavy sigh. She warns our innocent crafter that he is totally clueless about his own massive value in Ares. She drops a harsh reality check. This corporate shark might just be grooming him, using him to build a massive in-game monopoly, or worse, hijack their entire guild from the inside. But our protagonist refuses to buy it, shaking his head with zero hesitation. He stands his ground. Kang is built different, and he would never stab him in the back. The trust is absolutely unbreakable. Nell backs down just a bit, but she lays down the law. She gets the final veto power, and an in-person vibe check is totally mandatory. Hyunsoo easily agrees to her terms. Nell locks eyes with him, delivering one final, dead serious warning. Do not let anyone know he is the legendary blacksmith Hyunsoo yet. Cold sweat instantly drips down his face. He awkwardly scratches his head, confessing he literally engraved his signature onto the care package he just shipped. Nell stares at him like his brain just blue-screened. Meanwhile, plunging deep into the Salamander dungeon, the blistering heat is absolute torture. A massive, scaly lizard beast violently lunges at Kang Haksu, but he smoothly raises his brand new aegis. Boom! With a terrifying flex of brute force, he literally pulverizes the monster into digital dust. Kang is moving like an absolute demon, completely blown away by his impenetrable new defense stats. This gear is a complete cheat code. It flawlessly incorporates every insanely specific detail he asked for. Flipping the heavy metal around, he notices something crazy. Deeply carved into the steel is a glowing signature, the name Hyunsoo. Kang just chuckles, wondering how many more times this kid is going to shatter his expectations. How in the world is he supposed to pay back a debt this massive? But before he can blink, a colossal fiery claw erupts from the boiling lava. It absolutely sends him flying across the cavern like a rag doll. The raid boss has arrived. The towering, infernal Fire Queen manifests before his very eyes, conjuring a blinding sphere of pure hellfire She ruthlessly launches it straight at his face. A catastrophic explosion violently shakes the entire cavern. Toxic, suffocating smoke floods the battlefield. But as the ash settles, Kang is standing tall. His divine tier artifact tanked the entire hit. The raid boss's demonic voice echoes off the molten walls. She is actually impressed. A mere human actually survived her ultimate strike? Her fiery eyes narrow as she demands the name of the legendary craftsman who forged that shield. She unleashes a relentless storm of blazing meteors, but Kang goes into the zone, perfectly parrying and dodging every single blast. The furious boss shrieks a bone-chilling threat. Spit out the name, or she will break the system to hunt down his real-life body. Dancing through the flames, Kang realizes the gravity of the situation. If this sentient nightmare actually crosses over to the real world, his gaming career is officially over, but his loyalty is absolute. He would rather delete his account than snitch on his boy. Locking in, he blasts off the ground, vaulting right over the flaming titan's head. The boss just sneers at his suicidal bravery. If he wants to die that badly, she will happily oblige, winding up for a fatal swipe. Crash! The devastating blow connects right onto the Aegis. Kang braces himself, totally fine with going down to protect his guildmate. But suddenly, a terrifying red alert blinds his UI. The Fire Queen just triggered her ultimate execution skill, Death Hand. The catastrophic shockwave crushes Kang into the bedrock. Standing over his broken form, the demonic boss mocks his loyalty. Is he seriously throwing away his life over some shiny pixels? His health bar violently blinks in the critical red zone. Gasping for breath, Kang smirks. This is not just some ordinary drop. It is an absolute masterpiece. This masterpiece belonged to Hyun-soo. Without warning, a golden system window shattered the air. The legendary shield awakened, pulsing in perfect harmony with his fighting spirit. "This is a gift from my brother," Kang roared, his voice echoing through the dungeon. An explosive shockwave erupted from the metal, forcing the bewildered Fire Queen to stagger backward. Freezing mist swirled around his grip, forging a deadly spear of pure glacial magic. The system chimed. He had just unlocked the ultimate hidden skill, Frost of Aegis. Shrieking in absolute fury, the boss summoned a sun-scorching sphere of apocalyptic flames. Blinking crimson alerts flooded his vision. A catastrophic magical attack was incoming. Launching himself into the burning sky, Kang unleashed the glacial javelin with earth-shattering force. Before the monster could even blink, the frozen blade impaled her skull, reducing the mighty boss to a pathetic pile of dust. The raid was officially over. Kang Hak-soo had completely decimated the Salamander dungeon, securing the ultra-rare drop, the Crimson Dragon armor. Holographic notifications exploded like fireworks. He hadn't just cleared a dungeon, he had conquered a mythical secret trial and claimed a highly coveted, hidden piece. Gasping for air, he stared at the glowing text. The system praised his unbreakable loyalty. Even staring death in the face, he had fiercely protected his brother's identity. Boom! A brand new title dropped, Growing Warrior. But then, a legendary story progression reward materialized out of nowhere. Kang's jaw practically hit the floor, his mind racing at the possibility of a mythical hidden class awakening. Suddenly, an absolute tsunami of system alerts hijacked his screen, crowning him as the ultimate, flawless striker. The text glowed with epic tier brilliance. The final, golden notification confirmed his destiny. He was officially walking the path of the Growing Warrior. This wasn't just any class. It was a god-tier evolution tree, capable of reaching the 10th rank of legends, forged purely to shield everything he held dear, against any threat imaginable. Kang was absolutely mind-blown. This power resonated perfectly with his soul. The entire dungeon had been a massive hidden quest all along. As the fiery battlefield warped and dissolved into pixels, a sleek menu popped up. Noticing his solo player status and instantly pitching top-tier guild invitations, he swiped them away. He desperately needed a serious chat with Hyun-soo. Fast forward, and Kang is strutting into the local tavern, dripped out in his awe-inspiring new crimson armor. Every single head turned, jaws dropping at the insane aura radiating from him. Our main boy waved down his boss over the escalating murmurs of the stunned crowd. The whispers grew frantic, everyone assuming this absolute unit was a high-ranking ranker just from his flawless equipment. Lurking in the shadows, Nell locked eyes on the newcomer, guessing this tank had to be Bark. Scanning the ridiculous stats of his artifacts, she instantly knew this guy wasn't playing around. Her internal alarm bells rang, reminding her to stay on absolute high alert, especially considering Hyun-soo's warning about this guy's ruthless business instincts. Ignoring the crowd, Kang marched straight up to Hyun-soo and bowed his head in deep gratitude. Without holding back, he confessed that our overpowered protagonist was the sole reason he survived that hellish raid. He let out a breathless chuckle, admitting he never in a million years imagined Hyun-soo was the mastermind behind that god-tier shield. Panic flashed in Nell's eyes as she dashed forward, terrified he would expose everything right there in public. But Kang was no rookie. Feeling the heavy weight of dozens of eavesdropping stares, he smoothly pivoted, dropping a bag of coins for the bill and signaling for a super-secret VIP escape. They slipped into the hyper-exclusive Goyad Kingdom lounge. Not one to waste time chewing the fat, Kang immediately dropped the bomb. He looked our boy dead in the eye and revealed he knew his ultimate secret, all thanks to the subtle signature etched into the legendary metal. The mythical blacksmith was sitting right in front of him. Nell, watching this high-stakes exchange like a hawk, mentally applauded the tank's absolute lack of hesitation. Our main character just offered a calm nod, confessing he specifically left his mark because he refused to lie to a true brother-in-arms. That seal of trust was completely intentional. A heavy, armored hand clamped down firmly on Hyun-Soo's shoulder. Kang smiled warmly, admitting the puzzle pieces had already been falling into place, ever since that insane flex of trying to buy back the entire forge. But surviving that boss fight, that was the absolute proof of our hero's unfathomable, world-breaking potential. Leaning in, Kang shared a quiet detail from the dungeon. When greedy scavengers demanded the artifact's origin, he proudly claimed it was a priceless treasure, forged by his best friend. Emotion swelled in our protagonist's eyes as he whispered his thanks. Kang gave a fierce, unwavering nod, swearing on his life that this world-class secret was locked in the vault forever. Seeing this pure, unfiltered brotherhood hit Nell right in the feels. Guilt washed over her for being so defensive. Stepping out of the shadows, she formally apologized for the delay, officially introducing herself as Nell, the mastermind manager behind Hyun-Soo's operations. She swallowed her pride and admitted she had totally misread him. Kang blinked, completely caught off guard by her serious corporate vibe. She kept it 100% real, explaining her fear that some greedy executive would inevitably try to leech off our hero's broken abilities. A booming laugh erupted from the giant warrior. He shrugged, admitting her paranoia was actually completely justified. The awakened world was swarming with vultures who would kill to enslave a talent like Hyun-Soo. He dropped his voice, revealing his own scrapped blueprints to launch a guild, refusing to ever use their friendship as a cheap ladder to the top. But looking around now, seeing that our guy had already built a loyal, ride-or-die squad, his heart was totally at peace. Without missing a single beat, our protagonist threw out the ultimate curveball, an invitation to join his elite crew. Kang's eyes went wide with pure shock. Hyun-Soo's gaze burned with absolute conviction, declaring he wanted his brother by his side so they could obliterate the rankings and conquer the apex together. A savage, unstoppable grin stretched across Kang's face as he instantly accepted the offer. Vowing to become the ultimate, impenetrable shield for our hero, he finally formally introduced himself to the team.